Greetings, gamers, and welcome to the 108th live stream from the Misfit Gamer Studios. I'm your host, Vortex, and this is D&D Discussions. On today's episode, we have a community creation submitted by Hecate95, and this is Eminence subclass. This is going to be a martial or fighter subclass. Really going to be interested in this one. I have no idea what to make of the name of this, so we're just going to kind of jump into it. Don't really have a lot of updates for you, except that hopefully by the end of this week or by the end of next week, you can start to expect to see our shorts posted on our YouTube channel, our main YouTube channel. So hopefully we'll be able to make an announcement in the Discord for that. And otherwise, we're just going to keep working on doing those edits, and then we're going to get to hopefully a point to where, those are going to be a little bit more consistent. But otherwise, we're just kind of still riding the high of making affiliates. So we're just going to kind of jump into things here. Let me, hit that button. All right, man. What's going on, man? How was your weekend?
Shalom, my friends. It was good. It was good. Got my hair did. Just resetting after having come back
fantastic
from camp and everything. Thank you. No, I'm very excited.
Your lady did that for you, right?
Yes. I have a lady who is my hairdresser. I don't got to pay like $100 every time I need to go get my hair done. It is quite phenomenal.
She just has to badger you for a month or two before you'll actually do it.
Listen. I mean, the timing is important, right? Timing's important. You want it fresh for certain things, but you don't want to be doing it like every other weekend. So whatever, it's fine.
No, that's true. That's absolutely true. So yeah, man, it's so it was so funny last week. Getting everything set up and finalized for Friday's stream just 100% set things up for affiliate. And then I found it just kind of really funny. I don't want to say that it was like a complete bomb episode, but it was kind of funny that it was one of our lower...
It was quieter.
It was one of our quietest episodes in a while, so I did find that a little bit funny. But that's exactly how it goes, though, right?
Flow.
Like, we have been going hard year and a half now, working on it, and again, always keeping things in the future in mind, right? Like, we knew we wanted to eventually get to YouTube content, which is why we simultaneously cast and save everything. Now we're getting into that, and how many episodes did we do to no audience? I mean,
that's very fair.
It's kind of one of those things where you can't expect that once you make that first benchmark, it's just going to be a landslide after that, right? Still a lot of way to go, still a lot of work to do.
Just being consistent. It's really what I think we are good at. Like, out of all the other things that we do, that we work on, that whatever, like, we are consistent. We show up, we talk, we enjoy what we're talking about. We present our different ideas. We always come back to the same things, going beyond the book, and that's what I think is missing a lot of the times, just in general, is like consistency and like people being who they are. And I think sticking to that is what's really going to get us where we want to go.
I agree, and I'm really looking forward to next month. I think once we start posting. I know I was having a talk with Big Dungeon Energy the other day, and it was we just dove into the conversation. I think it was in the Discord about doing shorts and doing side content, and I didn't get a complete idea of how often she does posts or anything else like that, because it's one of those things where if you're trying to make content creation your full-time gig, you have to be posting constantly, multiple times a day. You have to be kind of like hitting certain times a day, but at the same time there are things that just kind of go out there and get recycled in certain communities, right? And that's kind of where I'm like, I know we're not going to be the consistent posting 3 times a day with shorts. I'd like to have once a week. I think that's that's not great, but it's enough, I think, for us right now, similar to what we've been doing the last year and a half. It's enough to start generating content, because I have to generate shit content before I can get good at editing, right? Like, we got to put out shit before we get good.
I mean, it's the cycle. It's not shit. It's just your first attempt. Listen, I've seen trash content. Like, that's definitely out there.
Right.
For sure.
And so that's where I'm like, it's also a catalog, because the thing is we're not just going to come out the gate with, $1 million editor and knock it out of the park and become YouTube substations, right? It's going to take a while to get things. What's going on, Hecate? I'm glad you got the message. It's going to take a while to get to those stages, right? And obviously it's going to be nice, let's say in a couple months from now, we get to 100 followers, right? 100 people. And then finally, those 20 shorts that we have start getting views. You know what I mean? And then that's where, I'm trying to look at it. It's like, you can't expect that each benchmark is a snowball effect. Each benchmark is just reminding you to keep going, because what you've done, it's those reminders, right? You have to treat benchmarks as reminders of the work you've put in, not necessarily as, they're achievements, but you know what I mean? They're benchmarks. They're not achievements. In the sense that they can be achievements.
Yes.
But a benchmark isn't something that you rest on.
Achievements is like, oh, I'm done. Like I did the thing.
An achievement would be 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. That's an achievement. That's something that you sit back, celebrate, because it's going to be a while till you get to 1 million, right? That's something you could be like, I hit 100,000. I can celebrate that. I can feel good about that. I can take a breather, right? Us making an affiliate is just part of the grind. It's great. We celebrated, but as achievements go, we can't stop, can't slow down. Like you said, it's that consistency.
Yeah.
It's nice that it happened, but that's not enough. It's not going to carry us, right?
Sure.
It's not going to make it bigger. It's not going to make the YouTube channel. It's not going to create my shorts. It's just an indication. Remember, it's a great goal to have. It's a great achievement, but it's a benchmark. It's a reminder of what we've put in, how far we've come, and just still why it will be worth continuing to go, right? I have no intention of taking partner ever. I have no intention of ever trying to make partner, simply because, there's only 300,000 of them out of the 26 million streamers. So I'm not even trying to get into that rat race, but also I just like the multicast option. I love the idea of eventually building out YouTube, and I just really don't want to deal with having to do exclusive streaming. You know what I mean? Doesn't sound appealing at all to deal with those time frames. I much prefer just being able to put out VODs directly and then put out better episodes later, which will definitely be next year's goal. Next year's goal, I think, now that we've gotten to this point, I'm going to work with the really crappy audio and video we have, because all of my editing is going to come from downloaded. So the extra ultra compressed versions from YouTube, until next year, hopefully. Next year, when I can get a beefier computer, get some extra storage, invest in all of that, hopefully we'll be able to actually record in a stream. So the VOD channel will drift off, into the sunset and officially just be the VOD channel. Because right now, the VOD channel is so much more. The VOD channel is my repository. The VOD channel is my storage unit.
Lightweight, yeah.
Oh my God. Hecate, thank you so much. Our first bits. Oh my gosh. Thank you very much.
Welcome,
that goes to our goal to 1,000. That's awesome. We just got our very first little, I don't know, what is that? Is that a I'm so bad at these. It's I know that those are bits, but I guess that's not technically a cheer. I guess that's just is that considered a donation? I don't know my terms.
Whatever.
It's one of those things, that this is the things that we have to learn now. We have to learn all this, what each piece means.
I've seen other streamers, and they have these buttons that they press, and
so
they just
many buttons.
they're like the air horns, but it's like, give me your bits, and just all kinds of bits. It's just a thing that they do. They like to play with them, have fun with them, but no, it's cool. It's very cool. I'm excited to see what people do with them, man.
I'm really curious too. So I've added a couple things, on there. A lot of it is the basic stuff. But I'm really, I want to sit down one of these days and really start to expand. Because one of the things that I'm going to have a hard time with, right, is there's going to be things that I want to add in that aren't going to be specific to every stream, right? Like when we do gaming with the chat. If we end up doing those with the channel points, aka XP, one of the issues is going to be there's going to be options when someone says, hey, I want to redeem my XP. There's going to be options that don't make sense, right? It's going to be like, hey, I vote to roll perception or something, right? Which is part of the reason why I was wondering if it should be like the raffle system. But there is I did learn, though, there is an option in here. There's two options, but you can do manage prediction, or you can do a manage poll, and I think both of those allow you to require channel points to vote. So we might be able to do it that way instead
cool.
of add in like buttons. So yeah, I'm still trying to work with a bunch of those ideas. But we definitely want to hear from chat. We definitely want to hear from the community. So if y'all have ideas of what we want to do with our channel points, aka XP, or when we finally get our in-house currency, the Misfit Gamer Studios currency, which at this point we're going to call high points. I'm not sure if we're going to change that up just yet, but yeah, high points will be for the in-game currency or for our currency. And then we're going to do XP for the channel points. So yeah, we do want to hear from y'all. So if you guys have any ideas, and if you haven't yet, join our Discord. Let us know what you guys think we should add. What kind of things that you would want to spend bits on? What kind of things you would want to spend channel points on? What do you want to do to interact with us? That's kind of what we want to know. So give us some ideas. Sure. Link is in the chat. But luckily we do have Hecate here, which is fantastic. And yeah, that was kind of all of my major updates is just, I was really hoping that by the first of the month or by the end of this month or start of next month, I'd be posting the first short. But I really only have the one that's fully complete. The other ones, it's getting, they're getting finalized. Oh, geez. Thank you, Hecate, for the subscription. Oh, gosh. I forgot about that. That alert. That alert was dope. The friendship alert. Thank you so much, Hecate. I really appreciate you. Thank you. And that means that Hecate now has the founder badge. So
that's
congratulations.
Awesome.
You have
Very cool.
So, yeah, so 3 founder badges out. 3 of 10.
I like it.
Fantastic. I love it.
I'm glad I figured that out when I did. Took me a minute.
Yeah, I know. But it's cool. I like it. What was I saying? So I have the one done. I have a couple about done. So it's like, it's hard. I don't want to overthink it, but TikTok can go up to 3 minutes. YouTube can only go 60 seconds, right? So when I'm doing these edits, I'm trying to figure out, what is a minute? Like anything within 20 seconds to a minute is what I prefer, right? You can go down as low as 15 seconds, but I think 20 seconds is good, which my very first short's just 20 seconds. But when trying to do these edits, right, I know I can max out at 3 minutes. So I try to keep that in mind. But I'm also trying to juggle, can this be split up into a multi-part for YouTube? Or can any 1 minute of this 3 minute segment for TikTok go to YouTube, right? Because that's the downside is it's almost too difficult at this point to only do 60-second clips. We have so much content to crop out just 1 minute pieces.
Because I thought can't TikTok go up to 3 minutes now?
TikTok can, but YouTube is only 60 seconds, period.
Interesting.
So that's what I'm saying. It's like I can do slightly longer form, like mid form on TikTok, which I don't mind doing. But let's face it, I think most people, I don't want to do 3 minutes on I don't really want to do 3 minutes on TikTok.
Yeah.
Unless it's like a really solid idea.
Yeah.
But that's like the editing mindset, right? I know I have like a window of conversation that I know how minimum I have to get it. But once I've chopped it all up, which just is taking me a while to just get it down to size and make those markers of like, here's a 2 minute clip, but here's the part for YouTube, like part 1, part 2.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's going in and converting each of those segments into like their individual packages, which is still learning an efficient way of doing that, right?
I feel that. I totally get that.
And then, of course, I'm just trying to figure out, like, still learning the whole thing, right? I can chop down a conversation because of my experience with the podcast. I can chop down a conversation to sound natural, right? I can chop down our videos to sound natural, but there's a lot of, jumpy clips, which I don't think anyone cares about anymore. And we're getting better, right? I'm still in the early episodes, so we haven't even gotten to the new setup yet in the episodes that I've rewatched.
Okay.
But I just, I need to. I'm watching more shorts. I'm watching more TikToks to understand like what is the expectation of editing, right? What is the standard expectation to keep people's attention?
Right.
Because obviously, I don't want to just have a static camera because that's just not what people do unless you're doing a skit. So
yeah,
what I'm really hoping for is once I get to the better quality episodes, I'm going to start practicing things like when we're having conversations, switching between cameras, like focusing on you, focusing on me.
Got it.
Learning when to do like zoom ins, whether it's a slow zoom in or just an instant zoom in for what I'm saying. It's like we're not doing skits, we're not doing video games. There's not a lot of meme-y stuff. Like there's not a lot of memes or sound effects that we can really like throw into what we say. But I feel like there are editing techniques that I'm not familiar with because I don't really watch shorts for their editing content. I watch them for just, mindlessness. So it is interesting now that I think I'm watching more shorts and more TikToks, even if I don't care or don't like them. I think I'm just watching more of them in general, trying to digest what is expected, right? Like what are things that I can predict? So when I go into editing, what's going to like pop into me like, oh, I should zoom in here, or I should zoom out, or I should pan, or I should just, eventually I need to get into stock photos, or at least like ways I can put visuals up. But until then, it's like, yeah.
No, I get that.
It's a lot. So I'm really, really hoping that we can, I can work in a better, faster system until we get editors. But, anything longer than this, like it's hard enough to get, short form content. But then I'm just thinking like, maybe I should just start like trying to edit a whole episode, and then I just don't know if I'd ever finish, right? Try to edit a whole episode and be like, oh, that's a short, and then try to edit it. Oh, that's right. I feel like I just never get to the main episode. So I'm trying to focus just on like, rewatch the episode, mark a couple spots where it's like, oh, that's really good content. I would like to turn that into a short. That's what I'm trying to do now. Go through all of the old content, mark out what I think would be good, and we'll just see how far I can go. It's a lot though.
No,
it's so much.
It's definitely a process that has got to be taken one step at a time. But no, I think that's gonna work out well. I do.
What is this? So I know the VIP, I know the founder. Oh, I didn't know that. Apparently, sorry, Hecate. I was just looking at Hecate's name. Apparently, Twitch has a built-in leaderboard for bits. So I didn't know that. So if you look at Hecate's name, not only did he get the VIP and the Founders Badge, because he was VIP before, he got the Founders Badge with the first, but that one next to his name is the fact that he's #1 bit leader. So I didn't know that Twitch...
Oh, so he has the most bits out of all the viewers right now?
Yeah, I didn't... that's cool. I didn't even know that they tracked that. That's kind of cool.
And can you take bits from streamer to streamer?
So bits are what you basically purchase. It's kind of like V-Bucks from Fortnite.
Okay.
You buy it from Twitch, and then you dish it out, and that's when Twitch says, oh, well, they purchased that and then gave it to you, so here's a portion of, like, I guess what they did.
But aren't they, don't you just get them for free for watching?
That's channel points.
Oh, got you.
So channel points get you free for watching. Bits are something that viewers actually have to pay for.
Got it.
So it's kind of like tipping.
No wonder they get the badge for it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's why I was like, I wasn't sure what to call it, because I know they're bits, but I don't know if you would call that a cheer, or if you'd call that a donation, or if you call that a tip. Because it's actual like real money, which is the weird part. We have to start thinking about like, this is actually like tangible stuff now, right? It's that's the hard part for me to like remember, is like we're dealing with tangibility now.
We actually have to deal with real things.
I feel pressure, you know what I mean? Like it's not pressure to like like I don't, it's like it's humbling to have people who want to watch you and have people who want to just like return, but now the reality of like, wait, you just gave me money, even though it's like not, it's not like a paycheck's worth. It's like, but just like someone just gave me money because what we talk
even
about.
Even if it was change, man, still
like that's cool though. Like again, it's that humbling aspect of like what we say does have some merit. People like what we say, and it's kind of dope. I like that.
Yeah.
So thank you, Hecate. I really do appreciate it. We're enjoying ourselves here, but. Yeah, so please do post those. Any ideas that you have in the Discord, I would love to hear a bunch of stuff. Like I said, we're looking for ideas for bits. We're looking for ideas for channel points, aka XP, and for high points, which will be our raffle giveaway stream currency, because that'll be the things like when people come in. I think that a first, like doing the first tag, which technically I've learned from Vixie is the good thing to do with this is you make like the first, second, and third worth channel points. So essentially you spend channel points like 10, and it gives like the first command, and it just basically posts in chat that they were the first in chat. And you can basically say, hey, if you do that, you get a certain amount of the currency.
I've seen a lot of people running into chats before, like calling first.
Yeah.
And different things like that.
And you can do like a chat command and do that just to highlight it on our end, so we know to give it to them. So, and we can do chat commands to add their currency. So that's what Vixie does, is whenever someone comes into their her chat, they'll use their channel points to buy the first, second, or third, whoever's, whichever one they are. And it'll give her a pop-up in chat that they did that. So then she'll do a chat command to give them her currency.
That's way cool.
So that's kind of what that's kind of what I'm thinking about doing is, well, because that's, I think, very standard for Twitch. People expect to have the first, second, and third, I think.
Right.
Just like the lurk. Just like when I set up lurk, it's kind of an expectation. People just have that. Well, it's not even an expectation like people are mad if you don't have it. It's just that it's so common. It's that's why we've seen it, ever since the beginning. People just do the exclamation point lurk and nothing happened. Now something will actually happen because we actually have like text that will generate now.
Interesting.
So that's the kind of fun stuff.
I want to try that
I have
out.
about 10 ideas from Hecate for channel points, bits, badges, and sound alerts. Awesome. That's dope. Thank you so much. I'm going to go and research those quite a bit this week. Hey, thank you, Mup. They went on an adventure. Goodbye, Mup. Enjoy the adventure. So that is it for our I think that's it for our updates. I think we can get right into it. Hecate's here.
Yeah.
We can jump right into it.
I'm here for it.
All right, Hecate, you ready for this? You have anything you want to preface us with?
I do believe I remember at some point Hecate mentioning that this also was based off of an anime somewhere.
Ooh, okay.
So
Hecate,
I think
confirm that for us if you can, please.
Yeah. I think this was after we had finished doing his last one, the Shadow something.
Shadow
Monarch. Yeah, I think that was like a warlock subclass or something like that.
Yeah.
And that one was based on solo leveling, which I had seen. But this one, I don't know if I've actually seen what it is.
He says it's in the notes.
Okay. All right, bet. So, there you go.
There we go. So, from Eminence of Shadow anime. Okay, so it is called Eminence of Shadow anime.
I did try to look that up. I don't know why. I had the hardest time finding where I could actually watch that, so I've only seen clips of it.
So what do we got here? So this is Eminence of Shadow. Let me... I just want to get an idea of some, just some kind of idea, right?
Yeah.
So give me 1 second.
I swear there was some, was there artwork involved? Let me check.
So this is definitely not an anime I'm familiar with. I have not seen this one. The cover, like the cover art, looks very familiar. I know I've seen these characters available somewhere in one of the places that I've watched. Like I've seen this artwork. Or here, chat. Sorry, I've seen this artwork somewhere before. That's probably not. Yeah, there we go. Perfect. I've seen this before. I know either whether it's like on Crunchyroll or whatever streaming service that had anime for a while. I've passed this, but I've never actually sat down and watched it.
Got it.
So our main protagonist...
If you do have any suggestions for where we could watch this, Hecate, like unless you have it on like Plex or something, which I get.
So this is our main protagonist, is one representation.
Okay.
Another this is a couple just representations.
Some void / dark magic. Very.
But then you got basic kid.
Yes.
So you got the
He's lightweight alter ego. Okay.
And then you got the leveled up versions. Obviously, this looks like a much more leveled up. From this, like
for sure,
it definitely looks like there's gonna be some power leveling, some scaling going on.
I'm curious if this is one of those what do you call it? Where they're like stupid powerful and like they can pretty much solo everything in the verse. There's a couple of anime that I've seen like that. One of them is That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime.
Oh, I've heard about that.
That one. It's a pretty good anime. But basically the main character is just so OP. Like nobody can touch him. And it feels like a slice of life isekai. That's the lightweight vibe. Anyways.
All right. I like it. Okay.
YouTube. Got you.
You know what? Hang on 1 second, guys. I've got
That's what I need to do.
That's not what I wanted to do. I've got to change chat one of these days.
Change like its location?
Just in this particular page, I want it to go all the way up to the top because we always have this blank side when we're on this particular one.
Yeah.
But I have to do that through Stream Elements, and I don't want to do that right now. But I just need to make a note that I need to do that. I need to fix chat.
I'll put that somewhere for you.
Because every stream I see it, and I'm just like, chat really should just continue until the top and not just die there. But it's because it's the same chat I use in every other area, so I just need to make a new chat box.
New layer.
So, sorry, admin chat, but I needed to remind myself I need to fix that chat. All right, so let's get started. This is the fighters. Oh, do you have the standard fighter pulled up?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. So we've already done a standard fighter subclass before, so you guys are probably all very familiar with this. So we're just going to kind of rapid fire bullet point the standard level 1 through 3 of a basic fighter, just to kind of refresh us so we can have a better viewpoint to look at the Eminence subclass. And as always, this is a community creation review. So with that, we are going to be approaching this from a player mindset, a DM mindset, how we would like to approach it as a player, how we want to approach it as a DM if someone was playing it. We're going to talk about balancing, and at the end, just our general likes and dislikes. And then at the end of it, I give it a 1 out of 10 for compatibility with my settings, specifically in High Point, not necessarily a rating of how good it is, just a compatibility with how well it would work in my specific setting. So yeah, let's get started, and we will start with the basics of 1 through 3, just to kind of give us that fresh of where this is going to start.
Yes, so level 1, fighting style, and second win. Fighting style, you get to choose basically your orientation, like the type of weapon you want to use, or if you want to do hand-to-hand combat, or if you want to do close range, dual wielding, whatever the case may be. Second win allows you to get some health back using a bonus action and a hit dice. And then at level 2, you get the infamous action surge, allowing you to take another action.
Who doesn't love
in
that
your
action
turn.
surge? One of the most common reasons why people double class or dual class in it.
Exactly.
All right. So, and then at level 3, we choose our
first martial archetype,
which would be Eminence. All right. So, starting with our description, as the mortals who live. Hang on. I messed that up on my own, and now my brain's just having a hard time retracing it. Okay, there's a pause there. Good. My brain just couldn't...
He's like, where's the pause?
Exactly. My brain was just reading so fast. It's like, there is a pause in here. Find it. Okay. As the mortals live, none matter in the face of a transient being as the world revolves around their will. For those who wish to transcend the world and its power, they look to become an eminence of its shadow. They are born abnormal in the world, having fighting prowess that is unworldly and magic so sophisticated that they can control it at an atomic level. By having higher quality of mana than quantity, intricate control and compression of that, they can surpass limitations and can multiply that magical power by 1,000 times its original strength. They also have a high interest in the most mundane creature known as a slime, as it itself is considered useless in the world. However, no other being can make it the most powerful magic item within the known world. These beings are able to find slimes anywhere and are able to discover the secrets of their untapped power.
Interesting.
So my first question that I want to know is the slime something that you're bringing in to a specific setting, or is this based off of a monster from the monster manual?
Interesting. So
because I know like the gelatinous cube, and I know slimes from most video games, like it's a very video gamey trope. But I don't know off the top of my head if it's a standard D&D monster.
There is a creature type that I believe is described as ooze.
Oh yes, ooze. Right.
And there are many different types of oozes. Let me.
I wonder if you could just like change that up to reflect slime instead. But Hecate, let us know if the slime. So it can be any slime as long as it's a slime. It can be any slime as long as it's a slime. Okay, and there are slime creatures. So there are slime creatures. So in D&D there are slime creatures. Okay.
Okay.
I haven't run into any slime creatures.
So there's like bag jelly, there's gray ooze, there's ooze folk, there's
Interesting.
Yeah, there's some of them that are fairly interesting. Like I know this is a little bit different, right?
Okay.
But like, would you consider that a slime?
That makes sense.
I mean,
ooze jelly. Yeah.
You know,
okay.
something to that effect.
All right, and I'm really digging this picture, by the way, too. This this crafted like tree branch sword. Like that's dope.
Like I'm interested if that is the slime.
Right.
Like if like their slime can like
tree, right? This tree's coming down. Looks like it's like, integrating. There's like this I just love this picture. You can see the tree roots are like part of the armor. Like I'm digging this image.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
They are low level creatures and very weak. So yeah, very much like any kind of like, video game slime. Yeah.
Very much so.
Makes a lot of sense. Okay, interesting. And then we know that this is based off of Shadow, for Eminence of the Shadow. So we will be keeping that in mind because we've mentioned before with the High Point review that there is a higher scrutiny for... we don't use the term rip-offs, but there's a higher scrutiny for like one-to-one translation homebrews. So we'll see. We don't know very much about this one, but we'll see. Does it fit D&D or does it feel too much like it was pulled in from that?
Right.
And that's just one of those extra things that we like to do for these particular ones, just because we want to see where the creativity came from in terms of translating it to a D&D approach.
Right.
All right, so so we are going to get spells with this. We're automatically going to get cantrips too, right out the gate. 3 spells and 3 spells known and 2 first levels.
So I recently discovered that there are more than just full casters and half casters. There's actually something called third casters, and I don't remember which they are, but I think it's like specifically fighter subclasses, because there's another one called Eldritch Knight.
So again, they're just doling down how much they can do.
Yes, it's even less than a half caster, like a ranger. A ranger's a half caster, but that's a part of their base class. Since this is only introduced in the subclass, I think that this is like a third caster.
Gotcha, because
it's even less.
You're starting later.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay.
So I think Rogue, the Arcane Trickster Rogue, is also considered a third caster.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay, no, fantastic. So so this is, you're going to get, so this does make sense though, right? Because you're going to max out at 4th level and half casters max out at 5th level, right? Half casters max out at 5th. So yes. So you're right. So
it's like half.
We're maxing out at 4th level. You don't even get your 3rd until 12th level. Okay, so I'm getting this.
Yeah.
No, this is feeling about right. I mean, now granted though, look at this spell progression. 3 spells, 4 up to level 7, but you get 10 at level 14. That's not a lot of spells. That's not a lot of spells.
It's not a whole lot. Like, you get to choose between a bunch of spells, and you get to hold like 9 of them by level 5.
And Hecate is saying that this even matches with the lore that he got it from. So the fact that third casters match the lore that he got it from is actually really a nice little marriage. And I love it when it does that, right? Like I love when I can take my pop culture references. So funny. Literally today, right after work, what I'll usually do, my routine now is I get off work and then I go for a run listening to one of the episodes. Just trying to at least do one a day that way, just so I can just like burn through them as quick as I can, just so I can make some notes. And today was the pop culture and lore was the episode that I listened to today.
Okay.
It was just me
nice.
going over how I like to, like, why I like it, the specific ones that like run High Point, how I do it, and the reasons why I prefer it. So it is just really funny that we're doing a review on one that was a pop culture reference, and I literally listened to that episode earlier today.
That's very fair.
About our, or at least because you weren't there, so it was just basically my viewpoints on pop culture. So I love it. It's cool. All right, so class features. As an Eminence fighter, you gain the following class features. Hit points, 1d10 per level. That sounds about right for fighter. I think that's a standard fighter, 1d12 or 1d10.
Yes. Yeah, so your hit dice is a d10
and
as a fighter.
Constitution modifier, I like that. Okay. Proficiencies, you get all armor proficiencies.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is that standard for fighter?
That's fairly standard. Well, actually, no. So... You said, what does it say? All armor proficiencies?
And shields, yeah. All armors and shields.
I know you get shields, but I think it might be all. Because I feel like if you have heavy, there's no way you don't have medium and light.
Well, that's what I was thinking too, yeah. Maybe it was just the way that it was put. But Classes, for some reason, yeah.
Fighter.
I guess fighters do just pretty much are pretty much always.
All
right, Hecate says that the
light,
skills
medium,
are
and heavy,
yeah.
And
okay.
shields.
He says that they are just slightly worded differently than standard. Okay. You get simple and martial weapons. You get no tools, which I kind of like. I think that's one of those areas where, again, we've talked about this before. When people make their own homebrew, I feel like a lot of times they're so stuck on doing exactly what the book has, right? Like, again, we've talked about going beyond the book, right? We've talked about adding subclass levels that doesn't necessarily follow the book's recommendation, or at least the way that the book has made subclasses, right? Adding in levels where the subclasses don't normally have them. And this is one of those areas too, where a lot of times people will make a subclass and they'll shoehorn in a skill or a tool that doesn't make sense.
Just
but
to have
see
one.
What they're doing is they're going, oh, but every other subclass has 3 of these. Now, these 2 make perfect sense for the build I'm doing, but every other class has 3. So they shoehorn one in. You're like, well, why is that there? Like, because they all have 3. And it's like, that's what we talk about going beyond the book, right? So I love this, where it's just, because I don't know if fighters normally don't have tools, but I'm so not used to seeing... I think
that there are a lot of fighters that get like Smith's tools, or you can like choose one of them.
Smith's tools at bare minimum, right? Or Tinker's
Carpenter's
or
tools or something like that.
So it is really interesting. Again, just one of those things where it strikes me as something that we haven't seen yet. And I like that. I like seeing people go away from the standard builds, right? Because you want something. We've talked about this. Subclasses are supposed to feel specialized. They're supposed to feel unique.
Yes.
And these are the ways that you can do it, right? Really force that gameplay into their specialty. You have saving throws of strength and constitution, and skills. You have acrobatics, arcana, athletics, insight, intimidation, perception, stealth, and survival. All of those sound quite right, actually. Sounds like a good mix, too. I think that's really good. Let's see here. So far, yeah, nothing that I would change. Let's see. So equipment, you start with the following equipment. In addition to the equipment granted to you by your background, you get a martial weapon and a shield, or you get 2 martial weapons.
Okay.
Interesting. You get 5 javelins or any simple melee weapon. So pretty standard.
That's very standard, yeah.
All right, and then I almost said mage. Magic control at level 3. When you reach the 3rd level, so basically when you take this feat, or when you take this, what do they call this?
Subclass.
When you take the subclass, your innate magic starts to surface as you learn to control it. You get 2 cantrips from the sorcerer spell list. I like that.
Okay.
Because again, they're talking about it's the lore is like it's just becoming of
it's
you,
innate
right?
magic.
So it makes perfect sense. I like that you did that, Hecate. It's keeping with the lore, and it really makes it just more approachable when you're used to the standard subclasses. This is much more in line with what you would expect. You learn an additional sorcerer cantrip of your choice at 10th level and another at 17th level. I like that. That doesn't feel well. The first at 10th level does seem like a pretty big jump, but you're already starting with 2. So I guess if you really broke that out, you'd have 1 for first level to 4th or 5th.
Right.
Then 2, then 10. Yeah, so that makes sense. Spells known of first level and higher, 3 first level sorcerer spells of your choice. The spell known column of the Eminence spellcasting table that we saw before. shows when you learn more sorcerer spells at the first level. So we already kind of walked through that previously. So for instance, seventh level, you can learn one new spell of first or second. And then spell slots. Ooh, here we go. The Eminence spellcasting table shows how many spell slots you have to cast your sorcerer spells of first level and higher. So we talked about that as well. To cast one of these spells, you must expend a slot of the spell's level or higher. You regain all expended spells when you finish a long rest. So pretty standard for sorcerers and other spellcasters. Spellcasting ability is a spell save DC 8 plus your proficiency plus your charisma modifier, and your spell attack modifier is your proficiency bonus plus your charisma modifier.
Okay, so it's basically taking, again, from sorcerers using their charisma as their casting class, or their casting stat.
So far, so good.
Okay.
I see no issues. All right, slime manipulation, also level 3. At level 3, by studying the magic conductivity efficiency of slimes, you're able to manipulate their magic cores, creating easy-to-use equipment such as armor and small tools. You can change the structure of the slime, causing it to appear like your clothes wrapped around your body. While infusing and condensing your magic through it, you're able to strengthen the toughness of it as if it were like armor. You cannot wear other armor while wearing the slime. So basically, slime manipulation, you can essentially gather slime, have it mask as your clothing, and then essentially you can use it as slime armor, which is a 10 plus your proficiency plus your charisma modifier. So what does that equate to? What armor does that normally equate to?
So your proficiency bonus at this point is probably going to be a 2, and your charisma modifier, if you're lucky, if you're really lucky and they let you have it all the way up to a 20, it'll be a +5.
But I mean, in terms of this, the base is 10, right? What armor is that equate to?
So all armors starts at a base of 10. So like when you're wearing nothing, it's 10 plus your dex.
Okay.
Right? So like if you're just a squishy wizard and you don't have very good dex, then your armor class is probably going to be like 11 because you have maybe a +1.
But like if the fighter were wearing like the difference between studded leather and plate mail.
The difference between studded leather, you're going to add your full dexterity modifier, and plate mail, I think, is just a static 17 because all heavy armor is a static and you don't add any bonuses.
Oh,
so
that's okay.
And so, like, I think the best heavy armor you can get is a static 18.
I do not like the way 5th edition does armor.
It's
I mean, like, to me, it's clunky, but
I kind of get it. I would like to see how other editions treat like armor and like how they have other things. Because I like how they have dexterity affect certain things.
Write that down for the stream topics. Write that down. That'll be this Friday's episode.
Okay.
History of Armor.
Sweet.
Boom. There you go. You guys heard it here right now. This Friday. History of Armor. It's coming.
That's right.
I like that. No, I love that topic. The history of armor. History of armor. It'll be basically like history of armor / AC. You know, kind of like what I did with ranged weapons, right? It was like, you know, history of ranged combat,
right.
cover. It was all of it. So we'll definitely cover that as well. So basically at level 3, you get slime armor is what I'm reading about.
Yes.
You get to collect slime and have it on your person. And if you're not wearing armor, you can turn said slime into armor. Those are the 2 things that you're getting: is collect slime and wear slime.
Yes.
I like that. Okay. So slime armor. So using this 10 plus proficiency plus charisma, what type of armor would they wear to get the same effect? What would they have to wear to get this effect?
So this is similar yet significantly different than unarmored defense for monks and barbarians. Monks and barbarians, they use 2 of their stats plus a base of 10.
Okay.
Generally speaking.
Because it's the unarmored, which is 10.
Yes.
And then they use their abilities of movement and
they're constant, either just like, I'm really tough and solid, or I'm stupid, dexterous, and wise at the same time.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So like that's the mentality in having theirs be like this. But this uses your proficiency modifier and your spell casting class. So I'm
the
assuming
spellcasting class makes sense because it is a magical. It's like mage armor.
Exactly. And
the proficiency is kind of cool because that indicates it's like the sorcerer mentality. It's going to go up with you, right?
Yes.
And again, something that we love about this, it's showing right out the gate that this is not going to be something you're going to ditch later on. You're going to want to keep using this because it's only going to get better.
Yeah.
It does keep getting better with you. You're not going to ditch this and use a different armor spell. Your proficiency is going to be eventually a 6.
And you always have reason to increase your charisma modifier.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's not a bad thing.
That's dope. No, I like that. So, because at first when it said like you can get the slimes and then like they can like morph into your like clothing, the first thing I thought was like, is this a symbiote? Are we basically creating like the symbiote suit? But not. It's not campy in the way that the symbiote suit is, right? It's not. It's not superhero-y. It's not comic book. This is just like the more D&D representation of what that would be. So that's interesting. I like that. And I like that it's simple. I like that it's straight to the point. It gives me something that I'm not going to drop. It gives me a lore base to start collecting the slime without it being like a full-on mechanic, right? It's not like slime collection was one option and then slime armor was another option. It was just, look, at this point you can start collecting the slime. And if you're not wearing armor, you can turn it into armor. It gives me 2 things I can do in one nice, neat package. And it's something I'm not going to drop because it's going to elevate with me over time, which is the most important part. It's something that we always talk about where the first things you get when you select a subclass should represent the cornerstone of that subclass in some way. It doesn't have to be the most powerful thing you're going to get, but it should really represent everything forward. And this is doing that, right?
Right.
It's letting me know right out the gate, I'm a magic user like a sorcerer because I just have this innate sudden rush of magic and I'm going to be manipulating these slimes over time. But the first thing I get to do is make armor out of it.
I would like, and because you said the first element of it is, I can collect slimes, right? And so just because for my own sake, like eventually I'm thinking, and
it also does say, I want to say, just to correct myself, not only are you able to you're able to take them on as your clothes, but you are able to create easy to use equipment such as armors and small tools. So I don't know, I think this would depend on the DM, whether that means I can essentially, collect it, wear it as a shirt, and during combat turn it on as armor. But let's say, role play wise, we sit down to eat and I go, now I have a fork.
Right.
Like role play wise, because that's what it tells me. So, now granted, it's not going to do anything. Like I can't make it into a weapon yet. The verbiage tells me.
I feel like a lot of people would say that it could mean I could turn it into a lockpick. Or I could turn it into something useful. Like imagine you now have infinite lockpicks.
So Hecate, was that the purpose? When you say small tools, was that meant to be you're going to unlock it? Because it means a couple things to me. Either it means I can start using it immediately, do things like I can just take it off my shirt and start using little tools.
Yes.
Or it means just like the armor, you're going to get more unlocks.
And so the first unlock is unlocking armor, and then later you can turn it into tools, weapons, whatever.
So that's why I said it kind of depends on the DM's interpretation. That's why I want to know what Hecate wrote it intentionally. Because, there's the author's intent, but then there's the DM interpretation. Because I can easily see a DM going, or a player. Easily as a player, because right now, I can manipulate them to make easy to use armor and small tools. And the armor, because it's relevant in combat, needs a stat. So it gives me a stat.
Mm-hmm.
But if I can do the armor, there's nothing that says I can't do the tools yet. So they would immediately tell me I can do tools. So my mind goes to roleplay.
Yes.
There's food? I literally rip what looks like I ripped a piece of my shirt. My shirt's fine, but now I'm holding a bowl. I'm holding a cup.
But I also take it as like, hey, now I can turn this into tools and give it to somebody else.
But that's the next level up. Can I make useful tools or only passive tools, right? Like, do I need an ability to make a lockpick because it needs to be sturdy? You know what I mean?
That I would like to see just a little bit more clarification on that front.
So Hecate does say it's meant to get better. So Hecate, this won't be really an issue with the review, but my first suggestion then is to clean this up a little bit, because right now it does read, at least from a player point of view, I can start making small tools now. Now, if this just said that you can gain the conductivity and so it's like by studying the magic efficiency of slimes, you begin to learn that you can create things from them, and then just change the verbiage to, you can now change its structure to armor, right?
Right.
So it's I would just say try to make the verbiage not sound like I can already. Okay, so but it is meant to be for mundane items early on. Okay, so it is like what I was saying, right?
Okay.
Roleplay wise, I can turn a piece of my shirt into a spoon. So Hecate, in that particular case, when you say mundane, that means not lockpicks. Like,
I would agree with that.
Right? I can't just take a piece of ooze, stick it in a key lock, have it form, and then turn it. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about, like, I can make a knife and a fork. I could...
and even if you just wrote that in there, instead of saying small tools, you just said armor and mundane items, I honestly would have zero questions. Because me as a DM, I'm like, that's not a mundane item. You're using it for something. It's got, like, mundane. It's a fork.
And Hecate agrees with you. No,
for
that's
sure.
100%. I would 100% agree. Just that change. Don't even worry about changing the verbiage and change, like I was suggesting. If you just said you're able to manipulate magic to easy to use equipment such as armor and mundane tools or mundane items, even mundane items, because tool has a connotation.
Very much so.
If you say just such as armor and mundane items, boom, fully fixes it, and then you can change the structure of the slime, causing it to appear like your clothes. So now I understand I'm holding it on me. I don't have to hold it in a backpack. And then I get the armor, right? Perfect. Makes sense. I love it. Cool.
I will say this, and this is just for me. I get that this is more of a magic class than anything else, and so getting spell casting and being able to use cantrips and potentially having that be a lot of what your attacks are going to be, even though you're technically a fighter, I still would like to see more than just this at third level, because third level is where you get the meat and potatoes of your class,
and this is really only making you a better tank.
You got a shield, but like, unless your whole thing is just going to be making like a shield, like I'd like to see, like, get an idea of like what I'm going to be doing.
Okay, so how do you like this then? Because we already get the slime, right? And the slime can turn hard into armor, right? And it can turn into mundane items. No, hold on. I had an idea for a cool effect, but I don't think it would ever be useful in real D&D combat, because no one ever disarms and then picks up other people's weapons. So that really wouldn't work. I was thinking, like, imagine being able to do a thing where, like, because it says it becomes as your clothes, right? So I'm imagining you're picking up the slime. Now all of a sudden, like, it gets cold, right? So I go, oh, it's getting cold. And I rub my shirt, and now all of a sudden I have gloves on. Because I moved some of the slime onto my hands.
Right.
So imagine fighting, right? And someone tries to disarm you. So as you let go, the kind of like an Iron Man thing, your glove goes with the sword. So if someone tries to pick it up, now they have disadvantage using your weapon. And because the slime's
like fighting against them or whatever.
Like, yeah, their glove.
Interesting.
But that's not really a situation that happens. But what would you feel about using the slime? Like, you get armor, right? Which is cool. But do you feel like the slime should also be like, maybe you can't be disarmed? Like, would you feel more confident if you gave them you can't be disarmed, because like if you use it as a glove, it like adheres it to you?
I think that would be cool. Again, like you said before, I feel like
Disarming
the disarmed,
it's
not used a whole lot. I think it could be and probably should be a lot more, but I think even something as small as kind of having the ability to like turn your unarmed attacks into
because you like turns them into
so
like hard,
generally speaking, your unarmed attacks do your strength modifier of damage, period, because they're just unarmed attacks. You don't have unless you're like a monk or like a martial artist or something.
So would you say add your proficiency and your charisma modifier to those attacks?
I would say,
because it's the same thing as the armor, right? You're basically hardening it around your fist, so why not get the same bonus?
I would say it would be something more akin to actually giving your attacks like meat, like give it like a D4, and you actually roll a D4 and then add your strength modifier to it, because like they're usually strength based attacks anyways, right?
Gotcha.
So whenever I do like a punch, like it's gonna be like a D4 plus my strength modifier, which is what a normal attack would be, right?
You know, I agree with that. Like, it sets the stage for what you're going to get the slime for, but you're absolutely right. Because it goes from 3 to 7, the armor isn't enough to define me as a fighting class. It just kind of helps me be more of a tank. So I agree with you. If anything, it was slime armor and unarmored attack boost, because again, it's like you can either choose the slime to go around your chest and legs and armor you up and go hard, or it goes around your hands and goes hard. And they're basically like weighted boxing gloves.
I think it would be really cool if you could just basically, and this would be the only effect, is you could choose the damage type out of the 3 mundanes, the bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing.
So you're not making it a full weapon, but you can either make it spiky, dull, or slashy. You could do basic like gloves that have
small little alterations to it to basically, I can pierce you because like there are certain,
because that's all it would be. It would basically be like a basic glove with either a spike.
I kind of think about the Batman blade a little bit.
Something tiny, right? It's like literally a very basic. It's either just a rock glove, like it's like a slime glove that goes solid, or it's a slime glove that has a tiny little point, so that's your piercing, or it has like a very basic blade where you're kind of just you're doing this kind of maneuver to where you're getting the slashes. Because eventually,
I'd say the player can kind of like articulate what they want it to look like, or how
I always say like basic because I'm assuming Hecate is going to upgrade this, give
for
us
sure
more abilities. So again, if you're going to add something basic to do their unarmored attack, I love that idea. You can increase the damage of your unarmored attack and choose one of the 3 mundane types. That I think would be great.
So I believe we have a request. I don't know if you can see this.
What's up?
In chat.
Do we? Hang on a second. I have the wrong window opened up. I'm not getting anything in chat.
So it says it's visible to me only. I'm not 100% sure why, but
so let's say what we want. Put 7 most games. So I put a 7 since most guns I know of get magic weapons. I think I only see the titles in 7. I haven't read it forward, so I think 7's fine. I think it's just that we're saying that because it's like a martial class, armor is just almost like not enough to set us up to know what we're trying to do. I think the idea is just kind of set us up to be more well-rounded. So the idea of saying your unarmored attack has more damage, and then you can choose the damage type, I think would be the icing on the cake for this, right? Immediately I know what this is all about. I'm going to have this slime, and I'm going to be able to continue to manipulate it.
Yeah.
Give us 1 second, guys. Let me take a look at this.
Not a problem. So, this right here. I don't know why I'm the only one that could see that.
Oh, so what it's telling you is it's saying that with your 1,000, so watch, click that. So
because I have that much, I can use it. You
finally have 1,000. So yeah, you finally reached 1,000, so it's letting you know. So if you say show me, it's just going to say that that's you can now purchase that. It's
got it. Okay. All right. Cool.
That's why it was only to you.
All right.
Again, things we're learning about channel points and bits, y'all.
I'm a newbie, all right? Just to Twitch in general, so
yeah,
whatever, it's fine.
But yeah, so I totally get, and then I also wanted to make the player I also wanted it to make it where a player wants to reach. I mean, I don't think you need to build in a need to want to reach higher levels. And to be completely honest, Hecate, if you're going to, if your mindset is you want people to reach higher levels, I don't think the best route is to withhold stuff. Because if, you think about gaming time, right? If I'm not leveling up, on the average I've seen, the average level up time is between 2 and 6 gaming sessions, depending on the type of group and the frequency, right? And I say average, and that's a huge ass average, right? But I would say it's rarely more than 6 gaming sessions and very rarely less than 2. Like, it's very rarely that you're leveling up every gaming session, unless you're doing those 4-hour, 6-hour sessions that you're covering whole sections of a campaign. But depending upon how often you game, how often you level up, this is where we've talked about why we have issues with how Wizards of the Coast does subclasses. Because if you take too long to let people not fully recognize what they can do, but if you don't give them time to fully connect with it, losing interest is a big deal, right? Like if it's not going to take me, we've had these subclasses, right? Where if it's going to take me all the way, and I'm not saying this about yours, but if it's going to take me to level 10 to really make me understand what my subclass is all about, I'm going to get bored. It's long before that, because
I feel super unfulfilled in my character. Like I don't feel like I get to.
Yeah, I'm waiting too long to shine and to do anything. Where what we've talked about is like the trickle feeding's good, but you need to keep each one pushing yourself, right? And that's kind of where our suggestion about the slime armor is a great option. But without anything else, even waiting until... I mean, think about this. I just got to level 3, so maybe this is the first gaming session. Maybe it's only been 2 or 3. But now I have to wait 4 more gaming sessions, anywhere from, that's anywhere from a minimum of 5 to 10 gaming sessions before I can do anything else but have armor, right? That's the mindset of the player, is I have to wait 4 level ups before I get anything more than armor and a little bit of role play.
Yeah.
That's not me. To me as a player, I'm not feeling very connected about what this subclass is going to do and what I should be doing with it, because you should also think that roleplay, you'd want them to roleplay this character. What is that third, what is the armor really allowing me to fulfill as a embodiment of this?
So just as as the picture articulated at the very beginning, I'm getting the idea that eventually I'm going to be able to manifest a weapon with my slime, right?
Right, exactly.
Now, if I'm thinking about that and I choose a fighting style based upon that, maybe I can eventually turn it into a bow, and so I choose archery, and I want that to be my primary fighting style. Maybe it's dueling, and so I choose a rapier, or whatever the case may be, whatever it is. But if I don't get to see the benefit of that until level 7, if I don't get to turn it into a thing that I can use to attack with... Or at least
know it's possible, right? Because at level 3, if you haven't... again, assuming from a character level,
right,
they don't know what's coming, right? So if at level 3 you get some sort of a weapon, you're like, oh, this is going to get cool.
Mm-hmm.
But if at level 3 you're like, I get a shield, or I get armor, it's like... So
yeah.
why am I just becoming... Why am I not just a monk? Why am I not just a barbarian? There's just that...
Unless it's all going to be about the armor...
Yeah.
If you turned it into gave the armor tentacles or something like that,
we're still only on level 3.
That's fair. That is fair.
So I agree with Kage. A little sprinkling of something on the fighter side on the attack side would be kind of cool. Also, just to help broaden the creativity of what's going to come. But Hecate does have a good note for us too. This is going to help bring things into context. Hecate's games typically around 6 to 8 hours. So Hecate's games are we're going to go through a chunky of the campaign.
Yeah.
So
no, that's
Hecate,
very fair.
So again, if Hecate is leveling up every other gaming session, even at every third gaming session, this wouldn't feel too bad. But at the same time, that's still 2 gaming sessions, that's 4 levels, and all I'm getting is an armor. That, as a DM, I think this is beautifully balanced. I think it could deserve more, but as a player, I feel like I would be wanting. So that's just why we keep going back to that. Not that it's our harshest review. It's just, as a player, I feel like, why did I choose this? Like Kage said, if I know I have to wait till 7th level, what am I playing this for? I'd really have to want the RP, right?
Yeah.
And that's not a bad thing. Building a subclass for the RP use, I think, is it is underutilized, but I think the player should definitely know that up front, right?
And I don't want to forget, and I keep forgetting this in my mind as we're talking about it, but I don't want to forget, we are casters as well. We do have spells, so there is a lot more that we can play with that most other classes wouldn't be able to play with, so I don't want to take that away from what's here.
100%. No, and you know what? That's a good reminder as we kind of went a little bit too far into the melee only. There is magic here, so... Yes. Magic doesn't necessarily need an alternative.
It is a fighter subclass. So, we're thinking at the very least there's going to be elements of, even the Eldritch Knight, they are melee. They get in there.
Remind me, does 5th edition have an issue with casting through weapons? Can you cast a spell while you're holding a weapon? Or do you have to have a special feat to do weapon casting?
I think that there are certain classes that allow your weapon to be your spellcasting focus. There's Warcaster, or not Warcaster. There's there's war clerics that they can cast holding onto their weapons.
So what I would do too is an alternative to, if you do, like Hecate is saying, this kind of makes sense because you have, you don't need the slime to be a weapon just because it's a fighter, but as an alternative to turning it into like some, glaives or something, or glaives, whatever the things are. What about at 3rd level? Because I don't think it actually said, like, why can't the slime be your casting focus? Meaning if they are like, as a set of gloves, that. like let's say I'm holding a sword or a bow, but I have the gloves, like the slime as gloves, then technically I'm holding my casting focus. So even through a weapon, I could cast all my magic. So I don't know if that's a huge problem with most people in D&D, but if this is a fighter, I'm holding a weapon, and again, I can have a shield. So imagine holding a shield and I'm holding a sword, but I want to cast a spell. If I could cover my weapons and my shield and my goo, they're now
extensions of my magic and enabled. I do like that. So even that little addition feels better, feels like I have something that's a part of me that's doing a thing. If we're gonna do that, I would like to give the spellcasting focus something, like I don't know, some innate something that it can do.
I just like the idea that the slime is its focus, which means you can, you have the slime as armor, right? But imagine if the slime is your arcane focus, you always have it on you because it's your armor, but you can also imbue things. Like you could pick up your sword or a dagger and let some of the slime go into it, and now it's covered in the slime, like you are enclosed, and now it's an arcane focus for you. Yeah. You can basically turn anything into an arcane focus as long as you can put slime on it.
Interesting.
Like that's what I would think is an alternative if you don't want to do the weapon enhancement for level 3, just making the slime your arcane focus and then giving it the ability to whatever it's on is an arcane focus. I think would be kind of
I do like that.
So yeah, there's 2 ideas for you, Hecate.
Okay.
But again, I think we're going in the absolute right direction with slime manipulation. I'm loving the idea, but I do agree. It does just feel like I feel like I'm waiting for something.
Got you.
All right, so now we go all the way out to level 7. So anything between now and other than ASI? I think it's just one ASI, right?
There is, I believe, 2 ASIs. So we have ASI at level 4. We have extra attack at level 5. We have another ASI at level 6.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because fighter just keeps getting stacked. So you get the extra attack and you get 2 ASIs, which, again, that's the other thing, too, right? You're going to get 2 ASIs right after this subclass. If I don't know right away, like again, we talk about that cornerstone, like the foundation, what is going to be like the idea? I'm about to get 2 ASIs or 2 feats.
Yes.
If all I know is I can do slime manipulation with some basic stuff in armor, that might bias me towards a defensive build when, again, if the slime is kind of like what you were saying, if we can start creating weapons with it, I may have chosen the wrong feats until I really know what the slime can do. So potentially another reason to add one little tiny extra example in level 3 of what slime will do for you. So when you choose these next 2 ASIs or feats, you're better building towards the customness of the subclass.
I agree with that because not only, because you can read ahead as a person that's creating this character. I can go read what level 7 gives me and kind of prepare for it that way. But in reality, you never know how an ability like that's actually going to play out in real time until you're able to use it. That's why giving like a dulled down version of something early on so they can play with it, so they can see how they want to use it, then they can use those ASIs or feats to customize what they're doing to enhance the way they like playing with this thing, because the way I have in my head that I'm going to play with something almost never matches how it inevitably ends up playing out.
It's because you play your character too well. It's because your character plays you.
My character 100% plays me. It's like I start the ball rolling and then I'm just along for the ride. I'm like, that's always whatever, it's fine.
It's like you started the boulder, but the player's the hill.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
100%.
That's whatever. I like that. I like that imagery.
Right?
The player gets the ball rolling, but the character's the hill. The character's going to take it where it wants to go. I like that.
Son of a bee.
All right, so slime or manipulation control, level 7. So starting at level 7, your control over the slime and your magic has become more precise to create a weapon and change the property of the slime. So again, this is right where we want to go. Again, I still think either magic or weapon-wise, we should have seen something to let us know this is the direction we're headed.
Right.
Because right now, again, just assuming it from the character's point of view, learning your abilities as you go, you want to know where you can like take yourself, right? And if all you think of is, well, I can get armor, you might go a defensive build. Knowing, again, you'd have to have read ahead and going, okay, I'm going to eventually get weapons so I can do a weapon build. But also think, I've had to spend the last 3 levels getting those feats that I can't use yet. So another struggle. I mean, I could plan for these weapons in the future, but I have to wait to benefit. I mean, the features are going to be beneficial, but they're not going to tie into my specialties.
I'll say at the very least, you'll be able to use mundane weapons. So say if I get like Great Weapon Fighter as a feat, right, which allows me to re-roll my damage die or something like that. Or it helps with your damage when you're attacking with great weapons. I think you can like re-roll ones or something to that effect.
Gotcha.
Which is kind of cool. You can use a mundane greatsword in the meantime, and then once you get this ability, then you'll use the slime one.
Yeah.
But it a lot of the times, depending on how this ability works, again, we haven't read it yet, but like if I can change it, if I can do different things, then like I might have a different strategy if I know that ahead of time, like genuinely my fighting style might change.
So let's see what it does for us. Okay, so we know that we're gonna. So first we got armor. Now the next time we're gonna get a weapon of some sort, and we're gonna get more precise control. So I'm assuming that also means the types of tools and mundane items we can create is also going to be of higher quality.
Okay,
we might even be able to see lockpicks eventually.
Cool.
All right, so slime alteration is the first one. You're able to use the slime to change your physical appearance while still looking natural. So it's like basically a polymorph or disguise. It's like a disguise.
Interesting.
So it's like a combination between polymorph self and disguise.
That's kind of cool.
You learn the spell alter self. Okay, so you're able to use the slime to change your physical appearance, but you also learn the spell alter self. This spell doesn't count against the spells that you know. You can cast this spell once without expending a spell slot and regain the... Okay, so this is basically a once per day free spell.
Yes, first free use of this. And I think what it sounds like is they're trying to use the spell alter self as... So
the in-game lore is that it's the
slime doing it.
But what the mechanic that they're using is they're using the mechanic as if it's alter self. Is that right, Hecate? So the idea is that in-game, you're using the slime to change your physical appearance, but you're using the mechanic of alter self
to represent
that.
Yeah, and that's probably why you get a free casting of it, is because the slime that you have on you is...
Yes, we have that correct. So, okay, so I love it. I don't dislike the ability at all. I just think the wording is misleading, because it does tell me... How I read that is I'm getting 2 things.
Got you. I
can turn my slime different, and I can alter self.
Got you.
And the only reason why I would say, well, why does that make sense? Like, how could I justify that makes sense? Well, guess what? If I'm using my slime to alter myself, I'm assuming, and Hecate, please confirm this, I'm assuming that if I'm using the slime to alter myself, I cannot then use my slime to get my AC bonus as my armor. I'm assuming that if it's in my armor, I cannot then use it as my weapon. I'm assuming that the slime is one use.
Interesting.
So I could make the argument that if I'm using the slime to alter self, and we're about to get into battle, I could cast alter self so I could drop my alter self slime to get my armor back, but I'm still in disguise. It's a very convoluted concept.
Interesting.
But that's my in-game lore. But the way it reads is it says to me you're able to do these 2 things. The only thing I would change is, so you're able to use the slime to change your physical appearance while still looking natural as if you were using the alter self spell. That's it. Just
got you.
Just morph both the first and the second sentence. Not you learn the alter self spell, just... You can change your physical appearance while still looking natural as if you were using the alter self spell. Now, the reason why I find this better and more particular is alter self is a spell. You're saying you're casting this spell. That means that there's verbal, somatical material. It means people can counterspell you. Whereas if it's your slime with your innate sorcery power, it's just something that happens once per day. And it's, to me, it's not dispellable and it's not interruptible.
I think the only benefit...
Or maybe dispellable, but not interruptible.
I think the only benefit you'll get from having it the way that it is it's not limited to once a day anymore. So as it is right now, you can cast it once for free, but you can also use a spell slot to cast it again later if you need to. So that means you get to choose how many times you get to use this, and you're using up your resources to do so.
Fuck, that's clever. No, that's actually really fucking clever. You get it once per day for free as the spell itself. But because you learn the spell, you can just use it as often as you have it.
And it's still technically working the same way, but it's just you can do it more often, but you're using more of your magic to do so. And so,
okay, if that's the case, Hecate again confirm that. If that's the case, that's fucking brilliant, by the way, dude. Like, amazingly brilliant that you thought that through, and I just didn't see it. Yep, get a free one and then use it. Okay, wow. I don't think of spell slots, so it doesn't register to me. I look at this as innate or a learned ability. So I'm thinking, well, it's innate. So it's better because you're not casting a spell, you can't dispel it, you can't, like, I'm thinking of all these other things because of like the mechanic of it, but I'm not even thinking that spell slots would be regenerated. So then the only way I would change it is, this is how I would then rewrite it myself. Again, it is giving you two different things.
Right.
So I would say this. So I would just maybe rearrange it. You're able to use the slime to change your physical appearance while still looking natural. I would even in parentheses say as if using the spell Altered Self.
Okay.
Follow that up immediately with this spell doesn't count against your number of spells. Follow that up immediately with this regains at the end of a long rest. Then follow that up with, in addition, you also learn the Altered Self spell. So just put in the verbiage, you learn this ability that works like Altered Self. In addition, you've also learned this spell.
Got you.
With these same things. So to tell people right out the gate, your slime does this innately, but you also have the spell to continue it.
It does not account. Okay.
So again, it's just the fact that it goes from your slime can do this to you will have learned the spell. I just feel like there could be a separation of your slime can do this thing just like the spell, and additionally you learn the spell for free to give the player an idea of, okay, I get it once for free and I get the spell.
So at this point, level 7, you know 5 spells, period.
Level 7, you know 5. Now you know 6.
So now you know 6.
And what is Alter Self? Can you check out what spell level Alter Self is?
I believe it's 2nd level. Let me check.
Because right now we just got our 2nd level spell, which again, Hecate, amazing that you're keeping track of that. Like, I love that.
Yes, it is. It is 2nd level spell.
And 7th level is the first time you get 7th level power. So I love that intricacy.
Flowing.
We don't get to see that often. I really do like this. I think it's just a verbiage thing. I just think that to make sure that it's just drilled in, your slime does it similar to the Altered Self. And again, I feel the reason why I feel that's important, because it did say that, right? I took it as 2 different abilities, which it is. I took it exactly that. Your slime can do this and you learned Alter Self. That's exactly what it does. My only thing is that I would just like to double down on the slime does it as if it's Altered Self once per day, and you get the Altered Self spell. And the only reason is, if you're casting a spell, it should have the same, it should be under the same requirements as any other spell, right? It should be it should be noticeable that you're doing it, and it should be interruptible or dispellable. But if the slime can do it innately,
you feel like there should be added benefits.
I feel like, and again, I'm a sorcerer. This thing is like my whole cornerstone. If you're going to give it to me once for free, I feel like that once for free shouldn't be obvious. And again, I'm not saying that you have to detail all these. I'm just saying that if you said the slime does it as if the altered spell, and you learn it, I just think that would make more sense for me.
I like the direction you're going with what you're saying, especially because very similar to Eldritch Invocations. I think that's a phenomenal idea. Like if you just go through the invocation list over there, like certain abilities and powers they have, and how you can get certain spells as at-will powers, or certain spells just like free once a day because of whatever the case may be. Like I really like that mindset and that direction that they go. And so having like a class ability that basically alters a spell in your arsenal fully. So even if you cast it later for future like actual spell slots, it would still have that same effect. It would still not take any material components. It would still be just your slime doing it. Like, I really like that mindset that
freebie is literally a freebie, and it's outside the bounds.
But like, I'll get it. I can do it once a day, but every time I cast it with a spell slot afterwards, I don't. It's this spell is special for me. Mm-hmm. This spell is something that is so in tune with my magic that I would say that effect that it gets for the free ability would be every time. Like,
see, I think I disagree with that one, just because again we haven't seen how it levels up, because it tells me like you could have the chance to get more freebies right as you level up.
Sure,
it's only the first time we've
that's
gotten
true.
This ability.
That's true. That's
so
true.
I would like to see
if it ends up doing it like that, then that's fair.
But I see what you're saying is because you're getting this as a very
I like it
specific
altering
spell.
your magic. I think that would be cool. But
yeah, and I get you there too. But that's a cool one. I like this alter self concept. I like the slime being able to do this. Oh, Hecate, I needed you to verify something for me. So are we on the right page here, assuming that each of these abilities are one at a time, right? So if I activate slime armor, I'm not also altering self? Or is it an idea that I'm just accumulating slime enough to where I can do all of this stuff, right? Because the slime's doing it. The slime's altering myself. My slime's my shield. So the thing is am I able to just activate all of these at once, one at a time? Should there be you can only have so much, like as you level up, you can collect more slime, and then you have to spend so much slime points to do these things? I'm just curious.
Second one.
So second one as in you can do all of these at once? Like you can just
I think yeah. I think he's saying you can do them all at once, because you first started talking about only one at a time. Like I can't have.
So the second option being like I could just
you can do it. Yeah. So you can have alter self.
I can get the alter self and activate my
hardened armor,
and
potentially whatever this next one's going to be.
Okay, interesting. So that's a slime armament. So you can do this all at once. That's something that I get it, because obviously you don't want to drop armor for a weapon and drop a weapon for an armor, right? Like, I can get that, but there is part of me that's like, I wish that there was a little bit more to the, like a little bit more forced roleplay in the collection process, right? Because you're getting this stuff, but I'd like to see more of a, you can only have so many slimes equal to your proficiency bonus, and each of these abilities cost 2 slimes, and then like there's ways to lose it. Like if you ever like go to 0 HP, you lose whatever slime was your armor, and then you have to go recollect them. Like it would be like an extra one step to just like really dive into that lore, but it would be for roleplay purposes only. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But it would be kind of just like limiting what you could do, and just have like maybe, again, you wouldn't lose it like to a detriment, like you wouldn't be able to expend the slime. But like, again, if you go down in combat, you're going to lose whatever slime armor you had, right? And then so now you have to go recollect it. Like just like a little added role play feature to just make it feel a little bit more at home, instead of it just you have slime on you, and again, that's all, but that's more on the player. Like if the player's really interested, they're gonna role play it, right? If the player really wants to get into it. If the player is just choosing this just to have the abilities, I mean, you can't really force them to care. So yeah, that's just more of a like a side thought for me. Sometimes I like to add in things like that. So Hecate actually thought about the slime count. Didn't add the slime count just because each DM's world is different. Later levels, DMs wouldn't even give chances to collect slimes. Okay, no, totally makes sense. It does make it a little bit more valuable that it's just kind of a passive thing, just kind of like everything else. You know, like a lot of things can be easily just passive, when you eat, when you go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
All these little things are just what happened in the background. You get
to take a short rest. You're gathering
every time
some
you short
slimes,
rest, every time you long rest, every time
and
you
they
have a night
did
over.
articulate that in the beginning, saying that like wherever you go, you
just
can find
it,
slimes.
Yeah, so you're just,
like
it's just always on you. Okay. No, totally makes sense. I'm glad you thought about that. You thought about that. All right, so slime armament. So by shaping your magic through the slime, you can virtually. I think it's supposed to be virtually. So by shaping your magic through the slime, you can virtually create a weapon, or ritually. No, it is ritually create. I thought I was going to say virtually create any weapon, but it's ritually create a weapon that you're proficient with, that you can summon at any time from your body armor. So again, you just pull it out, which is kind of a dope concept. You perform the ritual over the course of 1 hour, which can be done during a short rest. The weapon is considered magical for overcoming magical resistances, having a +2 for attack and damage rolls, increasing to a +3 at level 12.
I understand why you would not want to give that much at level 3. And I definitely it is strong starting out at a +2, even at level 7.
Yeah.
Especially going from no magic weapon, like you're potentially having a mundane weapon at this point to bam, I got a +2.
And any magic weapon that you're proficient with, mind you. Any weapon that you're proficient with.
And you're proficient with most things.
Yeah.
In this.
So this is where I'm starting to now get the feeling like I had like a little bit of a reservation, and now this is where it's starting to fold out. This is where it's starting to come to my mind of, is this, it's still level 7, so we're mid-game-ish, getting to the start of the mid-game. Is it too early to allow all of these things active at once? Right? Like, now I'm starting to think, like, I can now look like someone else, have robust armor without wearing armor, and after an hour, have a magical weapon. Should all of that be available pre-level 10 all at once, knowing we're still going to keep getting more?
So, real quick, alter self concentration, mage armor, not concentration.
So those two things
first level spell.
Yeah, so those two things could technically stack. I get you.
And then
it'd be mage weapon.
There is one, I don't know exactly what. There's a second level one called Flame Blade, even though that's specifically for a druid. And it is concentration.
So it's not super OP.
It's not crazy
because it is a sorcerer. So I don't know. I think I'm just trying to make the point of thinking about this. Okay, from a player's point of view, this looks awesome. Like from a player point of view, I'm thinking of all of the ways that I would be leaning into this. But from a DM point of view, is it too much pre-10? Because remember, think about like the leveling system. Think about like the campaign at this level, what they're going to be fighting. Is this just a lot to stack without there ever being choices? Because it's basically just saying I'm just going to keep stacking stuff on me, right? I get armor right away. I can have basically any tool, any mundane tool at my disposal. And then immediately at level 7, I get a magical weapon and I get to alter myself.
So I will say this. Again, kind of like we were talking about already at the level 3, I feel instinctively, I feel like you should have gotten slime armament at level 3. And at that point, I almost want to say it was an either or, and you just basically choose one or the other can be active at a time. Either you have a mundane weapon and you have armor, or you have armor and you have this weapon out. But then again, I feel like those are the two you'd want to use together the most.
Well, and that's the problem, right? Is the idea being that why would you be a fighter? Well, because I guess the idea is more like, I guess it comes down to what you were saying about the build, right? Because the armor is meant to be for like an unarmed fighter, whereas the weapon could be for a much more like aggressive fighter. So if you gave the choice right out the gate, right? If at level 3 you could ritually create any weapon that wasn't magical, right? So you can ritually create any weapon, maybe have some sort of minor proficiency or minor boost with it, or you could have armor. Giving me that choice at level 3. Now, between level 3 and level 7, I get to decide, am I going the defensive route or the fighting route? Because I have to choose one. It kind of forces me to decide what kind of player I want to be. Then at this level, it's doubling down on that. I can now do slime alteration which is part of the defensive maneuver, or I can get or my weapons are now magical, right? It's a boost to the attack, but if I'm using the armor also now becomes alter self. So I get it's almost like it almost should have forked, right? It should always be a choice if you're either using the armor or you're using the weapon. Now at level 7, the armor becomes armor and altered self. Or if you chose the weapon now becomes magical. Because think about this, right? You do kind of want to use both of them at the same time. But if I can have any weapon that's magical, I can go buy fucking armor. I can go put on whatever armor I want.
Yes, but
those specific.
Those armors will have potential detriments and potential issues.
But that's like any other thing, though. Like,
yes.
Like, you're getting a free magical weapon. I'm gonna go buy armor. If I had a choice of a free magical weapon or unarmored bonus, I'm taking a free magical weapon any day of the week.
For sure.
But if at level 3, you gave me the choice of, okay, I see where I'm going with this, but I chose to go I want the unarmored defense. I can go buy a weapon. I can go find magical weapons, right? Again, kind of like what Hecate's saying. Depends on the DM. Depends on the world you're playing. I could see people wanting... I mean, again, what if at level 7 you get the slime alteration and your armor becomes magical? So now you get like a +2 additional, right? So now you're going this route of, do you want to have magical armor or magical weapons? This is just what I would like to see as a player. That would excite me more. So, but let me put it that way. I'm not saying that's what this should be. If I'm approaching this as a player, I would have been way more excited right at level 3 to know, okay, I can either get armors, I'm going to go the armor route, or I'm going to have a choice to go the weapon route. And not like I can only do one or the other. It's just knowing that it was always going to be, every time they level up, it's going to be, do I need the armor or the weapon? Because now think about that, right? If I buy armor, I'm in the middle of a fight, I have my magical weapon. Things are going bad for whatever reason, I lose the weapon, I lose the armor. Now I can ditch the weapon, get armor back, and go unarmored.
Because it is a ritual, so if, I don't know, like if there's any rules to it getting destroyed or anything like that.
Right. But then being able to go right back to unarmored defense, I feel like is a boon as well. So
it's definitely interesting. Like, for me, one of the biggest things that I really like to see is synergy. Like,
yes.
I want stuff that works well together and not fights against itself. And so a lot of the times when I feel like I'm torn between choosing from two things where they'd both be really valuable right now, and I just can't use them, that to me makes me feel like the class is almost fighting against itself. Like I want to feel like, and again, I don't want like all the options, right? But I do want something that whatever direction you're pointing me in, like I feel like I can fulfill it.
So you want the subclass to make more of the choices for you.
Not exactly. It's like, okay, because if I'm choosing one, then I want to choose one. I want to be like, at level 2, you can choose one of two options. Either you get armor or you get
you want the subclass to make you want to either choose a subclass that's either going to go all armor, or you wanted to have chosen a subclass that's either all weapons. You don't want that option going forward, because
it's the back and forth. It's like, because you have to lose something to take full advantage of your class. That's what it feels like.
Which is kind of the point of subclassing, though. Like, the whole point of subclassing is that
I would say that you lose everything that isn't this subclass. Now you're losing stuff within the subclass.
But you're not losing anything. It's because it's really all about how you want to take it. It makes them more, to me, it would make the subclass more versatile, because again, starting from level 3, I get to choose, do I want to be more of a fighter with this manipulated slime, or do I want to be more of a tank with the manipulated slime? And then later down the road, because again, that's 2 ASIs or 2 feats, I'd be able to choose to make either one. But then at level 7, I still have the choice to go either way in the situation, but they've both leveled up. So now as I continue to grow, I can continue to make those fine adjustments and either lean more into the, I want to always have a magical weapon, or I can lean more into this magical armor is actually a big, awesome boost to me, right? Like, imagine, again, we're speculating because we haven't even gotten to level 10 yet, but imagine a point to where it's like the armor would level up to the point to where you could have plate level armor, but it's silent. Like, you have no detriment to stealth or something like that, right? Like, that could be a specific build you have.
As it stands, that's how this would work. Like,
that's what I'm thinking, right? But what I'm saying is, like, but adding the fact that you could also be carrying around the magical weapon on top of that. it's just like it doesn't feel like you're specializing. It does kind of feel like you're just getting everything. I feel like without the choice, you're not really specializing. You're getting feel like a bunch of stuff.
I feel like that's if we need to make it weaker earlier, then we need to make it weaker earlier.
I don't think there's any. I don't think it's too strong. I think it's too strong with too many options. But I think the options are the right ones.
That's what I'm saying. Is like
the options are the correct way to
my
go.
mindset is if you're gonna say I have these things, like I want this package to be the direction the class is going. Right. This package of armor and weapon, right? So I'm creating this magical like slime gear that I now get to use, and either I accumulate it slowly over time, but having to like constantly move it back and forth and make it do different things, that it feels like it splits your attention to go in too many ways.
That's only if you want to do both.
For me.
Right? That would only be if you want to do both.
Again, but you're always thinking about, oh, could it be more advantageous in this situation? Oh, I totally could have. And it's like you always have to remember that there's another way your class can go to recognize whether that's going to be more advantageous and that's going to be more beneficial if I can do that. But if kind of like what we were talking about initially, like my job early on is to like get a good feel for what my class is and for what I want to do with it, right? And I get the idea of being like, oh, I could do this or I could do this and just bouncing back and forth. But if it's always...
But see, I think the problem is you're assuming that you're always bouncing back and forth. But if you're starting to specialize, the bouncing back and forth is only going to be that one-off scenario where you're like, hey, this one time,
and then the one time you don't remember, the one time you don't remember that you could have done that and that could have saved everybody, that's going to suck as a player.
And that's everything from not remembering that you have an item or not remembering an NPC you talk to.
That's the whole point is you're adding another thing to forget. And I don't
agree with that. I don't think you're adding anything to forget any more than anything else that's out there.
But that's the more there is, like I want to simplify everything that I do when I'm a player. Like I want to make sure that I have a full idea, a full breadth of what I'm going to be able to do. And so the more stuff that I have to remember is there, especially because, you know, when I start off, like, that's why I like growing with the character, because it starts off small enough and, like, things slowly add on. So, like, all right, I've been using this regularly. I know how I go about it. I know how I like using these things. But, I don't know. It feels challenging at times when I have to constantly remember, oh, there's another layer of whatever it is, like, because you're right, there is a lot. There's NPC names, there's where you went before. That's why, you know, it's important to take good notes, take notes. You know, for me, I like to take notes that are relative to my character. And I know that sounds weird, but like there's stuff that I likely won't write down because Dovd, for instance, wouldn't really take note of that. Like, as much as that might be valuable, like, there'll be times where I will take, like, Kage notes. Like, I want to remember that for later, but Dovd wouldn't. Like, these are his notes. These are what he would do and what he would be. But, like, the more that there is to... And this is likely just my own personality because, again, very ADHD brain, very, like... I can easily go down a road and then the void will just swallow up whatever used to be there. And like, I'll be like, I was going to remember that. Like, where is... So there's some times where that adding more to that, especially when it's like something that I want to be able to use. I would love to be able to put it together, but it's just beyond my reach.
I totally see where you're coming from. Personally, I really do not think anyone is going to have a hard time being like, hey, I got this cool mage armor, but once in a while...
I'm the one. I'm the one.
No, because...
I'm the one.
Just simply because you brought up Dovd, I disagree. Because Dovd has some of the most open-ended abilities, and you have not fumbled, and you have not been like, oh my god.
There's a very difference between open-ended abilities and having to choose between two separate paths that you can't do at the same time.
I disagree.
I'm telling you,
I disagree.
I know you disagree, but I'm saying that's the way Kage feels.
No, I know.
That's what's true for what I have experienced. Like those are the types of things that
I don't think you're giving yourself enough credit. I think you've been put through plenty of situations that you're explaining that you have not had any issues with.
I believe that I might not be communicating to you how this scenario actually affects me.
I
because
think that
it's very different than what you're describing. Because I get what you're saying, the creativity and all the unique things that you can do, but that's following a train of logic based upon a scenario that you're in, not remembering, oh, I could do that, right? Because this is not about what I could do; it's about what you could do. It's like the world's the option versus, oh, I can do A or B. Is it A or is it B? I got to make sure I know what A and B is at all times. It's not just think about what could be. I can do that all day long, but to me,
I think
A and B
it sounds like you're making it way more complicated than I can even comprehend. Deciding whether
it's simple to me. It's not about complicated
weapon or armor. Like I don't understand how you're complicating.
It's not
choosing whether I have a weapon.
It's not about complication. It is genuinely just about the fact that it always has to be here, and it's something that's concrete and solid that always has to be here. Not about complicated.
I just don't understand how that's
in and of itself.
I just don't understand how that's different than all the other aspects of a character. Like every aspect of a character.
I wish I could plop you in here so you could understand it. But
I mean, Hecate seems that he thinks he agrees with you.
They're very different to me.
It's just that, I just can't see it. I just can't.
That's all right.
I can't play through that.
Here's the deal. I genuinely believe that you've probably experienced it. I'm just not communicating it in a way that paints the picture that you're like, that's what he means.
And I'll bet you on Thursday you're going to text me and be like, that's that time. Like, we're going to have a conversation
or you'll randomly text me because you came up with something that's like, now I get it.
Right. I always do that too. Off stream, we're like,
sometimes
if we had brought that up, that conversation would have like made a lot more sense.
Yeah.
But okay, but I think we're both on the same page at least that while the level 7 abilities are fine for this build, it's not too little too late. It's just there's a big player aspect of, finally I'm getting somewhere. I'm understanding this. Now, whether that's allowing slime armament at level 3 to just be a mundane weapon and then finally it becomes a magical weapon, that would be kind of dope too. I don't see why that would be too OP at level 3 because I'm going to go get armor. I'm going to go get weapons.
Yeah, even
this
if
is
it was
just giving it to me, not for free, but it's just giving me my own personalized ones out of my magic, right?
And to be honest, as a warlock, there is precedence for getting this much earlier, right?
Like, well, don't warlocks get like a specific weapon from their pact thing? Don't they usually
there
get
is
like
a specific type of warlock that'll get that. You have to choose that path. But yes, there is one where you have your pact weapon and that's your whole thing. And you can literally do a ritual to take a magic weapon that you found out in the world
and make it your pact weapon.
Mend it. Yes.
And why not?
That's cool.
And that should be this, right? Like to me, that makes sense. Like if I'm gonna get the weapon eventually, why wait to level 7 to not only do it, but then give it to me magical out the gate? Like you've been talking about from the beginning, I should have known what I can do, right? So if I'm gonna get a magical weapon and armor, just give it to me out the gate so I can start planning all of that from the get-go.
Playing with it, seeing how I'm gonna use them together. Yeah.
Right, exactly. I think that would have been the better approach because I feel like this is exactly the direction we want to see with this particular class. But slime armament, it feels like oh my god, finally. Like it just feels like where was this whole time? So
I feel that.
Yeah, I think that I don't think that because realistically speaking, at level 3, all you're doing by giving them this mundane weapon that they created is saving them some cash. In 1 hour, they don't have to go sell and buy a new weapon. They can just change weapons in an hour. They can take a short rest.
You're making their looting so much easier. They don't got to be looking around for, is there a cool sword over here? Is there a cool sword over here? They're not worried about it.
And you know what? I'm less likely to pick, because we've talked about this before, how, it's easy to just be like, this weapon does more damage. I can just make a weapon that does more damage. all I'm waiting for is for it to turn magical, right? And then you could kind of focus more on, again, if I want to do polearm master, I could make, a polearm weapon that I'm, proficient with. Like that seems to be more exciting, because then at that point, like you've talked about, Hecate, you want people to stick around for a while. That would make me stick around, because just being able to always have a weapon that's mine, and then always have armor that's mine, that can't be taken off. Like, just that alone makes me want to see, well, how much more powerful is this going to get? Because at level 3, I get free armor and weapon, and it's mine. It's personalized. That excites. That gets you to be like, now what's next? And then at level 7, you smack them with, hey, your armor alters your appearance, and your weapon's now a +2 magical. You're at level 7. That's what I'm saying. At level 7, it feels like a lot to have. It feels like that's 4.
It does.
You have armor, alter self, and a magical weapon, all for free at level 7. That's why I feel like it does sound like a lot, which is why my instinct is to make a more versatile subclass that would you have to be.
The alteration is only free once a day. At the very least,
the spell.
Yeah. The other stuff is fairly continuous, but that one, it's only once a day, and then you pay for it, so it can eventually run out.
And I love the paying for it.
Give me a second. I'm curious if it is alter self. So here's the deal. Number 1, it only lasts for an hour.
Which is okay, that's fine.
And number 2, it is still concentration. Even if you're using your slime, it's still concentration.
Is it though? So Hecate, would you say that the altered slime
because
is the spell, or does the altered slime does it work differently? Like, would you say that using the slime, the first free one, is it basically like a spell? Is it like a free spell slot?
Because this is verbal and somatic because
it is, because if it's under concentration,
which I think can be replaced with your spellcasting focus. Verbal and somatic.
I still think the slime should be your spellcasting focus in this.
I agree, which would make sense why there was no technically verbal and actually no, maybe it's the other way around. Maybe it's your focus replaces materials.
It does. It replaces the material component.
Yeah. That's
you still need verbal and somatical for that.
But
what was the question? The question was,
does it require concentration?
Does the first use of slime alteration, is that technically casting alter self? Because alter self is concentration. So is the first free use of slime alteration, do you consider that the same as casting the spell, or is that in a different ability? Yes, it is the same as casting a spell. So yes. So it would cause concentration for 1 hour.
Which means anytime they get hit. So like if you're in combat and you have this, like hypothetically speaking, say you cast alter self so that you could impersonate the king or like the head of the guard or something like that, and you're in battle fighting along all these other guards that think you're like the captain.
But once you get hit,
you get hit and you got to fight to keep it up. You gotta keep your constitution up as best you can.
That's true.
So that, which is why it'd be valuable for one of those feats you take to be Warcaster, so you get advantage on concentration checks. That would be fire, and you can cast reaction spells, which is kind of cool. Anyways.
Yeah.
But that I think would be a very interesting element, because not only yes, it's a lot, but it's not perfect and it's not permanent. It can be interrupted, especially if what we're talking about is a lot, is that you can do alter self and armor and a weapon all at the same time, right? So if I'm doing all of those at the same time, that means I'm likely in combat, right? I'm likely fighting something, and I'm likely going to be taking some kind of damage.
Because the weapon is you just spend an hour and then you just create a permanent weapon for yourself, right? Yes. So the weapon's not really the power. It's just the fact that you get a free. From here on out, you will always have a magical weapon, which that is all I'm saying. That right there isn't so much it's all the powers at once. It's just the fact that you've had armor since day one. Now the armor, I say the armor, but now you get altered
now the slime,
self, but now you just get a permanent +2 weapon. So now you have permanent armor, permanent unarmored defense, and a permanent +2 weapon, and now you have altered self. That's my argument for and it's more of a question, because it's not like super OP. It's not like this is game breaking and like they're just going to floor it. It's just imagine the rest of the party. Is this going to do well, or is this could this lean into well, that's obviously until everyone else gets to level 12, that's the hero of the party, right? Is it gonna put this player almost too much in the spotlight? Because at this time, what's the likelihood the rest of the party are gonna get a magical weapon, let alone a +2? Now, granted, Hecate, totally different scenario in their DMing realm, but for me, level 7, you'd be lucky if half the party had found, like, you'd be lucky to have found one or two, let alone a whole party's worth. And a level 2, like a +2 weapon. I'm just wondering, is that standard for gamers out there? Because I don't know how 5th edition treasure gets dished out.
I think it is far too infrequent for players to get magical weapons in game.
Okay.
Like, just in general, because I've gone like really far in some campaigns, and like I'm level 5 and I still don't have a and there are so many things that you're coming up against that specifically have resistance to non-magical bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing.
Right, and you haven't actually gotten the key to that.
And so basically, we are doubling our time having to fight these creatures just because we don't have any, or only 1 or 2 people. Only the mage can cast any sort of magic that cuts through that. So that's 1 character's worth of DPS to actually take them down in any reasonable manner. So I don't know. It depends on how much they're throwing at you and all that kind of stuff. Again, like I said, warlocks, they'll get this at level 1 because you got to pick your pact at level 1.
Yeah.
So you can have this. Actually, I think you might not get that specific pact feature until level 3.
Interesting.
But with the pact feature, at the very least, the way that it works is it's not a plus anything. It just counts as magical. So it counts as magical when overcoming bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage from non-magical effects. That's the only thing it does. Other than that is just mundane. All the attack damage is the same. There's no plus anythings. It just doesn't get affected by that one piece. And so I think at level 3, that's not crazy.
Yeah.
Like if you were able to do this ritual to create whatever your weapon is, and that's all you got, and then at later levels, you could turn it into a +1. And then maybe at another level, you could turn it into a +2. And then maybe finally, when you get to level 17 or something like that, you get a +3 weapon.
Well, because I am looking at this where it's like you get the +2 at level 7 and a +3 at level 12, and I'm like, would it be better to break that up into a 1, 2, 3 step, like a 7, 10, 12?
I agree.
You know what I mean? Just kind of like, again, because
I think 7 would be a good place to get 1.
Yeah, get your first magical weapon, because then it's just a magical weapon. Then at level 10 it becomes a +2, because that by that time the rest of the party will have magical weapons, and then you'll go to a +3 automatically while they're still scrounging for for magical weapons. That might be a little bit better. Yeah, I think the thing that just stands out is like maybe the reason why I'm leaning towards that this feels just like a lot is because it does just feel like a lot all of a sudden when again it felt like I didn't really know what the class was doing at level 3, and now it's just like, well, holy fuck, I have a lot going on, right? Like, so maybe that's just it. Maybe there just needs to be a little bit more of a wean in, right? Like have the alteration as a mundane weapon, just that way you have the flavor and the role play that you got a custom weapon right out the gate, right? Level 3, I get to ritualize a custom weapon. It's exactly mine. It looks like my armor, blah, blah, blah. And then level 7, it gets a +1. Now it's a magical weapon. Now I get Alter Self. I still have this dope armor. Level 10, it's a +2. Level 12, it's a +3. Like at that point, it's just feeling like
I would wait a little bit longer for +3, maybe 15. But still, it's the same. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, I'm liking what we're doing, and I think that's just why it's just feeling like a lot. Because again, level 3 it was just armor. Now all of a sudden I have a +2 magical weapon,
and I definitely get that.
It's free, guaranteed. I just have to wait for it. You know what I mean? It's just like I'm guaranteed a weapon, and the rest of the party isn't.
And Hecate did mention that it was like, hey, I am encouraging. Like when creating this, I want them to be excited to get to higher levels. I want them to.
And that is true. Yeah, this does excite you if you've read ahead. You kind of know what's coming.
I can't wait to get that. Like I want that type deal.
Oh, actually, Hecate. Big question. Does the slime armament, and I think it should, but maybe it does, maybe not, because it's made from the slime, which is what gets it magic. But does the slime armament technically require attunement? Or when during the ritual it's being created, does it attune? Like, as in, if I create a +2 weapon, well, if I create a +2 weapon, can I hand it to a party member? Can I make a weapon? If we all have magical weapons and I have an awesome +3/+4 magical sword, can I make a +2 for a party member and not give up my much better one, right?
Interesting.
It's not attunement. So I can so technically I can just make that weapon. And now again, here's the player in me. You know what I want to do? I can make a +2 weapon, go sell it at a shop. Walk away, spend an hour, create a new one, go to a different shop, sell them another fucking weapon. Every time I make a new one, the other one I'm assuming either depowers or
goes away,
or just drips into slime.
It turns into slime.
So of course, as a player, I'm gonna like min-max that and just be like, so I can just basically sell a magical weapon to every town we go to get a couple hundred gold, and boom, I'm out.
No
but that
attunement.
Is interesting that there's no attunement. So that does mean that you're permanently, like I don't know what because it doesn't say that there's a time frame. So you're permanently creating a magical weapon until you create another one. I'm going to step away for just a second, but that's an interesting concept.
I would also definitely just put a line in there that articulates that when you do create another one, or when you do this ritual again, like the other one turns to slime or something like that, just because I can see some rules lawyers saying, it doesn't say that it goes away, I can just create 1 million of them and then try and be some goofy goober. But yeah, so no, I definitely like this so far. I really want to see. I'm very excited to see what else comes. I'm taking a little sneak peek. We got slime threads coming up here. But yeah, that's really the only other critique I would say is just articulating here that on the completion of this ritual, any other slime armaments that exist turn to slime. Yeah. But okay. I think Hecate was like, oh, definitely, he agrees.
That's the intent, right? You don't just create it permanently and then just create another one. All right, so then we have at level 10, so anything between 7 and 10 that we need to know about?
There's likely
the 1 ASI, level 9, I believe.
ASI at level 8 and Indomitable at level 9. Indomitable, which is where you get a reroll saving throw.
That's right.
A failed save.
All right, so slime threads level 10. At level 10, your manipulation over the slime becomes more finer and precise. So I'm assuming, again, Hecate, you keep saying like you get more precise control, but you haven't mentioned this. So is this also increasing their ability to create the mundane items? Like originally we talked about, like I can create a spoon, I can create a fork, I can create a bowl. But at this point, you're now saying finer and precise twice. We've upgraded that. So it's like, what does, outside of the armor and the weapons that we're getting, how does that represent in roleplay? Like by now, at level 10, can I create a lockpick? Can I make fine enough precision items that I can make the rogue a free lockpick set so the class, the party never has to buy another lockpick set? Can I make any one of my players or any one of my party members, can I make them free ammo? Can I make you a tiny rock for your sling? Can I make someone a bolt for their crossbow? I'm not saying I can make them in mass, but if I can create tiny little items with the thing, if someone runs out, can I temporarily be like, oh, this is a very important potion, vial, temporarily. Like,
interesting.
Like when you keep, because we keep seeing this finer precise.
I really like that.
And it was specifically put in that you can
that.
make items. So I just want to know, from Hecate's point of view, what was the intent when all the way back at level 3, because we're big on words here. The whole thing is that you can create small tools. So armor was the first thing, but we know we'll be able to create small tools later. And then he even said, you can create like tiny little stuff. Then we get more precise. But now you can make a magical weapon. So if I can make a magical weapon, got to go from making spoons and bowls to something else.
Right.
And now finer and precise. I got to be able to make a fine, very fine piece of
something.
Some very strong things, right? Fine and precise. Is the bowl I make to eat out of now look like fine china? Just at least to, so it doesn't look like, at first it looks like a clay pot.
Imagine you can create a slime rope. Just literally right? Just some rope that's like super strong or durable that can, I don't know.
I mean, it makes your clothes. So I'm assuming that these clothes aren't like illusions. So if I make a bunch of clothes, can I take off the belt? And is it a working belt? Things like that. Like,
interesting.
When I'm thinking of like, and I'm imagining, the reason why I'm asking like, how does this represent Hecate's mind? Because now I'm thinking of things like, you know, does it start out at level 3 if you use this for armor and your clothes? You know, it can't keep you warm and it looks like, you know, basically commoners' ragged clothes. And then at level 7, when you get more precise, now it looks like nice clothes. Now at level 10, with finer and precise, now it looks like royal, like noble clothes. And it can keep you warm. Like to the point where you can literally be naked. You can literally not officially have anything on you, but the slime becomes everything, right? You no longer have to keep a bedroll because the slime can like
turn into your like little sleeping bag or whatever.
Like that's what I'm thinking, right? Like you've just accumulated this to where literally you're more slime than you are human.
That's kind of your lightweight turning into the Venom symbiote.
That's what I'm thinking, right? So that's what I want to know is like when we're talking about, because we know that these are coming up with like the weapons, the armor. We know that we're getting stuff, but it says tools, and if I'm getting better at being able to do things, the tools I should be able to create, right? Like I think at least, if not by level 10, guaranteed by level 15, but I think at level 10 it would be totally fine if this class could create any tool set. Smith's tools, herbalist tools, even if it's only temporarily, but long enough for a party member to be able to utilize it to do something. Like you can make, you know, thieving tools. You can make a set of thieving tools with the slime. Rope, like maybe like 10 feet of rope, you know, or you can make rope equal to half your level rounded up. So at 20th level, you can make 10-foot rope. Not hugely beneficial, but something. I mean, I'd or twice your level, up to twice your level. Yeah. So at level 10, you're making 20 feet of rope. That could be beneficial.
Yeah.
That's, you know, like, I mean, it would be super, I think this would be at like 20th level, but like if I can make lockpicking set at 10th level, at 20th level, I can literally just like stick the slime in the lock and it will harden in the right shape.
That would be cool.
Because at that later game, who cares if you basically have an infinite knock spell?
I mean,
that's basically all it is. It's an infinite knock spell.
But here's the deal. Knock can open doors that don't have locks. This is only doors that have locks.
Exactly. And physical locks you can see and access, right? So
that have keys and stuff in it. So
all right. Anyways. So yeah, I just want to know if Hecate, you know, when you come back, if you have any idea of what you were thinking when you said that this can make tools, but you keep identifying that you can make more precise, more fine tools. What does that mean? Like role play or otherwise? But otherwise, let's see. By making the slime thinner and condensing your magic through it, you're able to create slime threads that you can throw into an enemy within a 10-foot reach.
Okay.
So it's kind of like darts, basically.
Okay.
This almost reminds me. What is that? There was another anime where it's like someone basically could throw like almost like what look like shards of glass. Like they could like create shards of glass, almost like what look like
This makes me feel more like Spider-Man's webs.
Almost, yeah. But
because I feel like with the way this is talking about it, when it says threads, I feel like it would still be connected to you. You throw it into them, but
that's true. Yeah. So let's see. So the tensile strength. So yeah, I guess it is more like a web. So the tensile strength is a DC is equal to 13 plus your charisma modifier. Slime threads. As an action, you can throw the slime threads at an enemy, and they become restrained. Escape DC is the tensile strength save. You can also control up to your proficiency bonus of single threads to grab nearby objects or use them to hold objects that weigh equal to or less than 5 pounds. Okay, so basically Spider-Man's webs. Like you can just kind of easily grab things nearby or hold an enemy still.
And it's up to 10 feet is the range?
As an action, you can sometimes make a resistance save. You can also put a section nearby. 10-foot range, 10-foot reach.
So let me read to you restrained.
Yeah, they become restrained.
Restrained, your speed becomes 0. You can't benefit from any bonus to your speed. You have disadvantage on attack rolls. Attack rolls against you have advantage, and you have disadvantage on dexterity saving throws.
If it's basically the Spider-Man web, yeah.
Listen, that is very good and very powerful, but even most... Well, I mean, those are lower level spells. This is equivalent to because entangle
equal to your proficiency that's a lot though.
So what's equal to your proficiency?
How many you can have out at a time. So it's one thing to be able to do this to someone who's 10 feet away, but being able to do this to 4 or 5 people. Because it's,
at level 10, yeah. What is your proficiency bonus?
4, I believe. So I'm just saying, like, this is battlefield control a lot. This is a lot of battlefield control.
Yeah, especially if you, like, center yourself. And if you restrain somebody, like, they're stuck in place. They can't do anything. They are just... And your charisma modifier, imagine at level 10, you've got a bunch of ASIs. You've at least level 20. So that means that bonus is going to be...
you can control up to amount of threads equal to your proficiency bonus. So here's my thing about that verbiage. Control, kind of thinking like Spider-Man. You don't just like throw it out as like his web ball and then you just get splatted there. It's like I throw it at you, and I'm like holding you in place, right? You're stuck, you're fighting it. I think it should be based on concentration then. I think if you lose concentration, you lose access to all of them. That would make this feel more balanced because with as many enemies as you can control, with as many enemies as you can restrain, like you said, that's so devastating. If I can just do that, I can control many, many battles. Like, the moment you're down to the BBEG, boom, restrained. Right? Like, you need to have something that can knock this off.
I do agree. I know they have the save, and I'm assuming they can make that save at the end of every round. But again, like I said, you are a fighter and you are level 10 and you have had at the very least 4 ASIs between the beginning and now. And if your charisma modifier, which is your spellcasting stat, is not what do you call it? If that isn't been something you've been bumping, that like has been your highest focus, like I would imagine like at character creation that's at least a 16 to a 17. Like it's going to be pretty up there.
You
should have been able to max this out at 20 by now.
Yeah.
So that means at the jump it's either going to be your maximum because it's hard to get past 20.
Yeah.
It really is hard to get past 20. So you're sitting at 20 for your charisma modifier and plus 13. So you're capped
plus 5 at your modifier.
Plus 5. So you're capped at an 18. Right here from the jump when you get this. Now, I don't necessarily think that that's bad. You know, an 18 is pretty decent. Like, your spellcasting save is going to be probably relatively around that. Actually, it might be higher than that at this point because your spellcasting is 8 plus proficiency plus charisma bonus. So, well... yeah, it's probably fairly equivalent to that. But your proficiency bonus is still going to go up. This is never going to get higher than that. So, yeah. But I guess you wouldn't want it to be too hard to get out of, even when you cast like the entangle spell.
Well, like I say, because of how many you're getting, right? I mean, like just with how many people you can target with this, like you said, restrained is a big deal, especially at later combats. Like, unless these guys are getting, massive bonuses to save out of this. Yeah, unless they're able to save out of this, that's it's a lot of power. It's a lot of power to give, right?
So Hecate sent me I guess he posted it himself as well.
Oh, excuse us. Hang on. Let's reread this. As an action, you can throw the slime threads at an enemy. They become restrained. You can also control up to your proficient single threads to grab nearby objects. Oh. So thank you, Hecate. This is one enemy at a time. You can grab up to your proficiency bonus in objects that are less than 5 pounds.
Oh.
You can only target one enemy.
Got it.
I'm okay with that. That was my only concern. Is I thought with this read as in if my proficiency bonus is 5, I'm restraining 5 enemies.
Gotcha.
At level 10, that's where I'm like, this feels like you need a way to knock that shit out, right? Like a concentration check or something. Only one enemy, but up to multiple of objects. I'm fine with that because the cool part is like, is that like, can I use that as a multi-attack? Can I like grab 3 like rocks on the ground and throw them all at once? Can I can I turn that into a multi-attack?
I mean, So again,
like low level,
you got to think as an action. So you have to have the actions to do that. So yes, well, okay. So when it says
it only says you can only grab or hold objects, nearby objects, so you can't throw them. It's only basically I can like get my hat over here. I can bring my hat over to me, or I could like hold your sword down. So let's say you got disarmed, I can bring your sword over here, or I could just be like, nope, you can't pick up your sword. That's what I read this as is you can also control up to your proficiency and bonus of single threads to grab nearby objects or use them to hold objects that weigh equal or less than 5. So even that, it's not like I can grab that and whip it across the room. It's either the scorpions get over here move and I'm like doing like Spider-Man and grabbing it, or I'm just holding it down to the ground.
So the way when you look at the grapple attack action, it specifically says that you can use this attack action to make a special melee attack. So you can.
Say that again. So, what were we
we're talking about grapple for a second.
Oh, grapple. Okay.
So the ability grapple, you can basically grapple a creature as an action, right? But it specifically says you can do it as an attack action, which means if you are a fighter that gets multi-attack, you can use one of your 2 attacks that you get with your single attack action. You can use one of those to grapple. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking that this is potentially the same way.
Yeah.
Like,
because it's only against the one enemy. Yeah, no, it feels so much better with only one enemy.
If I have multi-attack, which 100% you're going to have multi-attack by level 10, or extra attack, yeah. I can use my first attack to restrain them, and then my second attack and potentially an action surge to keep going, and I have advantage with on all those attacks with my magical weapon, you know.
At advantage, well, they have disadvantage, but yeah.
Well, no, you get advantage against them too.
Yeah,
so it's both. Like, yeah, no, it's like having the whole person spell on somebody.
It's much better as only against one enemy. And Hecate was also saying that they did want to. I think they're saying that they did want to add some more verbiage to the tool creation, somewhere around level 10. Like you can actually make like more like refined tools. But it's because the whole idea behind this is like you're manipulating things on an atomic level. So that's the idea. The finer, preciser is like more molecular detail.
Got you.
Which again leads me to believe the tools should be things like eventually by level 10 I should be able to create tools for my party members, right? I should be able to temporarily craft them the tools they need.
Right.
So that's kind of cool. I like slime threads. I like it. That's kind of dope. One person, grab a couple objects. Hecate even says it's not meant to throw rocks, so it's literally just, you can't pick up that sword, or I need that vial of potion. Come here.
So, a couple of questions. The way it reads, it makes it feel like I can hold something in midair. I want to make sure if that is or isn't possible.
I'm 100% if you think about it like Spider-Man. You're either... You know, but I think that's what Hecate is going to say, but I would say that the mindset is probably more like Spider-Man. You're either grabbing it and then pulling like a rope, or you're just splatting it on the ground and it's holding it. But Hecate, let us know, this isn't like telekinesis, right? This is purely a pull it towards you or keep it in its location. You can't like levitate an item. Because it does kind of say that, right? It does say you can hold objects.
Yeah, it makes me almost feel like mage hand, like I'm just holding something right there.
And I just think of hold as in like you can't pick that up kind of thing. Like someone dropped a dagger and they're like, oh shit, I can't do it.
And the other thing would be like, can I move stuff side to side with it? Or can I just pull it towards me? Does it have rigidity to it at all? Is it like one of those?
That's a good point. Yeah,
that's a good point. Things?
Yeah, is it like a stick or is it a rope?
Yeah.
Let's put it that way. Is it a stick or is it a rope?
And it does say thread, so it gives me very much rope vibes.
Right.
So like that's definitely something I'm thinking about. But
why you're plugged in?
It's
not that late.
Rude.
Okay, so I think it gets back to us. They're dealing with the kid probably.
They had something going on with their chat earlier too. They said it wouldn't pop up.
So it's more like telekinesis, but only with 5-pound objects. So you're right.
Okay.
It is telekinesis, which...
Within 10 feet, so it's basically like a 10-foot range, not even mage hand, because it can't really go around corners. You kind of have to have...
I don't know if I like the idea of the... I don't know if I like that, personally. I don't know if that's the flavor that I would prefer to have gone. I don't think that... Like as a player, I feel like that's a little bit of a break for me.
I know what you mean.
Really liked the Spider-Man idea of this slime, because, again, slime doesn't really get rigid, so the idea that I could, like, just put this tiny little, like, glass-like rod and then lift it up, that's almost too much outside of what this...
feels like
was going for. So for me personally, not that it's like a bad addition, I just that's a little bit, it throws me off a little bit. It throws me out of the build.
Okay.
But definitely interesting that you can basically like levitate several items around you. I wonder what the benefits of that would be. 5 pounds is a lot. Shields are 5 pounds. Like there could be a 5-pound shield.
Yeah,
you can hold up shields around you.
That's
more in tune with the anime. I keep forgetting that we're based on an anime too. So there's going to be a lot of specifics.
That's very fair.
Okay, interesting. Okay,
I'd be curious to know how the main character used these in the anime. Like even if it was kind of like we were talking earlier, like role play wise.
Now I'm thinking of animes. This could make sense if I looked at it like the slime through the eyes of Elfin Lied.
Oh, like through the vectors?
Yes. So because the vectors are basically pan-dimensional arms.
Yeah.
So imagine the slime isn't like this rod that's out, and it's not like a whip. It's like an arm, right? It's like this little arm that just slithers out, grabs things for you, and holds them up like almost like this, right?
There's this anime that I've been watching. It's called Moonlit something. I forget exactly what it's called. But this guy eventually creates this way to use his magic, and he calls it mana matter. And he basically transforms his magical energy, magical potential into physical matter, and it just basically looks like he's encompassed in this giant like orange glowing slime bubble. And it's kind of like if you've ever seen JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, how they have the stands that like appear up behind them. It's almost like he's got this giant like slime stand that comes up out of him. It's got like bigger arms,
and then just does stuff.
He could just do stuff, and you can like shoot out a bunch of it. Kind of gives me that, like a little bit of that kind of energy.
Yeah, I'm thinking like, if you look at the slime as just like an arm that just kind of comes out, grabs things and then just like dangles it, instead of more of like this rigid, like I'm doing this, but it's just more like these arms, almost like octopus arms, right? They're just hanging out, just holding things in the air for you. I'm like, okay, now I can kind of sort of get that. It's still a little breaking for me. I still think I would have preferred just I can pull it towards me or stick it to the ground where it's at. I feel like that just feels a little bit more tactical, in combat, like a little bit more just like concrete of that Spider-Man.
Yeah,
I got things to do, but this gives you a lot more to do with it, right? Like think about the things that you can make that are under 5 pounds. Mm-hmm. I mean, shit. If I could find a bunch of shields, I would just have the thing just constantly surround me in shields.
Yeah. If I just had little potions out, like if it's so that I'm always ready to have or throw a potion or something like that.
Have it hold scrolls up. You're like, what spell am I going to do today?
Yeah,
that spell, come here.
Heck yes, especially because you're a caster too.
Oh, and Hecate wants us to be used outside of combat as well, so that makes a lot more sense too.
Oh, fair.
Okay, excellent. Okay, I like the threads. I think they're dope. I think it's a good add-on to this because again, it's not armor focused and it's not weapon focused. This is a whole new thing, right? Mm-hmm. It's another thing that we got. It's not just focusing on.
But it does allow us to use those other things that we got better.
True. Yeah.
And that's what I really like about that.
Synergistic expansion instead of just doubling down on what we already have. All right, so to 14th level, we get one more ASI.
Yes, indeed. So we have another extra attack. So we have 2 extra attacks. So whenever we take the attack action, I can do attack 3 times.
Oh my god.
And then I have ability score improvement, another ASI, and then another use of Indomitable at level 13. Okay. So that means I can 2 failed saves per long rest. I can.
Gotcha. That's
I can redo.
That's so nice too.
Yeah. It's almost a legendary resistance. It's almost a legendary. It's not just I succeed, it's I get to try again.
All right, so at 14, we get Magic Exodus. Starting at 14th level, your fighting powers and reactions become enhanced by your use of magic. When you use your action surge, you can teleport to an ally that you can see that is within 30 feet of you. As a reaction, you can use your slime threads to cause disadvantage on a weapon attack on an ally that is within 10 feet of you. Okay, hold on. There's two things here you can do. So when you use an action surge, so action surge is the
you get second attacking.
So whenever you use the fighter's action surge, you can teleport to an ally that you can see within 30 feet. So boom, one option.
That's cool, especially because you get multiple of them already.
So it makes you a good
using
defender.
it is super cool.
Right. So you use the action surge and boom, you're next to that ally. So basically, it's like you use the action surge to get another attack, and instead of having to move, like if you killed somebody, you can just move to the next enemy essentially, and keep on going with your attack.
As long as that enemy is next to an ally. Yeah.
Yeah. And on top of that, also as a reaction, you can cause disadvantage on a weapon attack against an ally that's within 10 feet of you. So just separately against that.
Yeah.
As a reaction, you can...
So I get why it's teleporting you to an ally now. So it makes you want to fight side by side with your allies.
Yeah.
So that you can use that reaction to give disadvantage.
It's like, not Polar Master. It's like a Polar Master having Sentinel.
Kind of,
It's basically its own version of Sentinel to help guard against people going after. Or what's the other one where there's another fighter feat that whenever like whenever you make an attack on an enemy, if they attack somebody else, like you can either do a disadvantage.
That's Sentinel.
Okay,
that's Sentinel.
And then so
Polar Master is when someone enters your range, you can do an attack of opportunity.
That's the other one. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. So with this one,
I will say, if you're the only frontliner, that reaction is likely not going to get used a lot. Because if you are a frontliner, if you're the one who's in melee combat a lot of the time, then you are not going to be able... And there's nobody else. Like, imagine you have a druid... maybe a druid can come up next to you in wild shape, but it's just the one person and say they're down, or whatever the case may be. And you got a wizard and like a rogue or something like that. And so being next to them's not. So that's the only thing. I like the ability. I really do like the ability. I wish it would be used more often, but I think that the ability to teleport as you do your action surge, I think that is cool.
It's a really cool ability, but
I
will say, like the telekinesis,
yes,
it's so not part of the build.
It breaks what's happening. Like, how's the slime doing that?
Yeah, how did I go from collecting slime to teleporting? I get that it's magic. It's just we haven't seen any teleportation magic yet.
I would almost like to see it not be like a teleport, but it be like imagine the we were just talking about Spider-Man. Imagine if I just shot at somebody and then zoomed over to them.
Was imagine if instead of the teleport, what if you got the ability as a reaction to cause disadvantage on an enemy attacking an ally within 10 feet? I kind of like that. But what if also this gave you the ability to do a attack of opportunity whenever an enemy leaves any ally's space within 10 feet, you can do an attack of opportunity. So they don't have to disengage with you. Any enemy that disengages with any ally within 10 feet of you, you have an opportunity attack against them.
Interesting.
That would be kind of dope.
Interesting. I do kind of like that. I really kind of like it'll make sure that you can do a lot more with your reaction. So like, yes, you can use it to give disadvantage, but you could also use it to, but you only get the one reaction. So if you use it, you're good to go.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But I like being able to do it from disengaging from allies that are within 10 feet.
Because it's kind of the same thing of instead of teleporting to them, but yeah, because this one, you want to protect them from being hit, but that's why I still kind of like that you can use a reaction to either cause a disadvantage on an attack, or if you still have it, you can do an additional opportunity attack.
Yes, and I do like that it's within 10 feet. So even though you have to teleport adjacent to them, I like the fact that you don't have to stay adjacent to them for this to work.
Yeah, because it's all distance, right? Because you're using the threads at distance instead of you teleporting next to them. And another option too, here, if you want to be more of the...
Because 10 feet, you can be on the other side of the enemy. You can be flanking with them and still technically be within 10 feet, which I really like.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, just it's I don't know. The teleporting's a little bit weird for me. Hecate's saying that they're thinking more like flash step, like running super fast. And I know, I totally get what you're saying. It's just that for me, as I'm looking at the lore and the build, it just seems kind of like, again, the levitation thing. It just kind of seems to come out of nowhere that the slime can now do that. But that's just more of a personal lore build. So I don't know. I would really like the idea. I really kind of like the idea of expanding upon attacks of opportunities, not just people who disengage with you, but an ally within distance. I think that would be a really cool opportunity for this. I love the disadvantage on an attack against your ally. I think that's cool as a reaction. Here's another alternative, just because, I'm not saying that the teleport is bad. It's just doesn't vibe the way that I would think. What if, as an alternative, by this level, right, you've accumulated all this slime, right? So you've been able to have these magical weapons. It can do all this stuff for you. So what if by this level, you can give somebody else either armor or an AC boost with the slime? So like you can give an ally the slime, like a piece of your slime, and it actually helps their AC. Like gives their armor a +2 to their AC. So kind of like giving someone mage armor, or giving someone like,
Would you restrict it to they have to be within a certain range of you for it to work?
I think only at casting. I think within 10 feet of you, you can put it on them, and like you just throw it on them.
But then they could get teleported to another dimension and they'd still have it.
Why not? Well, maybe I don't know how far away, but the idea being that it's temporary, like maybe it lasts for 1 hour. So you imbue it.
Okay.
You imbue it, you let it go. So instead of it needing to be on you, you've imbued it with enough power to last an hour. So then you can give it to your ally for up to 1 hour. They can have a boost AC, or you could put the slime on their weapon and you can give one additional weapon the magic property at +1.
Interesting.
So you get the big +2, +3, but you can go, hey, buddy, here's a little bit of slime. Your weapon's now a +1 magic, just right now. Or, hey, bud, here's a +2 to your AC.
Like that.
That sounds better to me than teleporting, because now I'm manipulating this slime more. I'm really being able to imbue it with magic and let it out in the world and do stuff.
When I look at the consistency of how this has come to fruition, I will say the tendrils is also the point where it breaks a lot of their consistency, because up until that point it's been enhancement. You're enhancing your appearance, you're enhancing your armor, you're enhancing your weapon.
You and the slime are becoming one.
Yes, like it's doing stuff to affect you, and instead of doing stuff to like hurt somebody else or to hit somebody else. Like I get what's happening with the tendrils and I'm more okay with that, but here it feels like and again, I still get what's happening. I still like what's happening. It's still using the tendrils, but it's using it in a very different way. Like I would say that this doesn't necessarily take advantage of those earlier feats that you got. The tendrils do. Yeah. I can still use my attacks.
But it's almost like at later levels, now we're almost on a different path. Like at first you were going this way. At earlier levels, now we're heading out in this direction.
Yes.
Hecate also says that this is also a little bit featured off of the Eldritch Knight
And so I just looked that up.
level.
I just looked that up. So at 15th level, the arcane charge, you gain the ability to teleport up to 30 feet to an unoccupied space you can see when you use your action surge. You can teleport before or after the additional action, which is kind of cool, but theirs is more just strictly magic focused. So that's just like a magic ability you get to use, which kind of makes sense. In that, but like I get the feature, and I like what you're doing with it, especially because you're not just doing it like I can do any unoccupied space. This is specifically like I want you to tie in with your teammates.
Okay, I got it.
Okay.
Hecate, let me know what you think about this. Okay, so we want to tie it into a previous ability, the whole aspect of enhancements, but we do really like what it's trying to do here. So we both agreed that causing disadvantage on someone attacking your ally as a reaction, totally fine. We're okay with that second part. But this first part, right, the teleporting. What if it was, because normally you can use your threads within 10 feet, right? Within someone within 10 feet, you can make them restrained. What if on an action I hate that fucking word. Action surge, that was increased to 30 feet. So instead of teleporting next to your ally within 30 feet to protect them, what if during an action surge you could be like, hey, by the way, that enemy next to you, they're not restrained. Don't worry about it.
Interesting.
So normally you can only go 10 feet, but on an action surge, it goes all the way up to 30. That way, now your buddy's protected for at least a whole turn.
That's actually really cool. I really like that.
Because your buddy is still protected. You now have time, a whole round to
they
cover
have disadvantage.
Distance.
They're not fully protected, but they get disadvantage like the reaction would give them.
And you could say that you could technically rule as a DM that they don't get an opportunity of attack if they're restrained, so therefore you can move away.
I like that too.
This class can then cover distance their next turn. So you've restrained the guy. Now I have the time to cover distance 30 feet.
Well, here's the deal.
On my next turn, right? Like on my next turn, I'd have time to cover that distance.
Yeah. The only thing I do like,
because I like what it's trying to do is be this more protector, but if we're gonna lean into these new abilities, I don't think teleport's
really
the right
like
way.
that.
I like the idea of being able to restrain that enemy to help your buddy out. Because it's still tying back to what you can do, and the restrain ties back to the fact that you have armor and you have this +2 weapon. And by now a +3 or later a +3.
I do still want to see. I do like the fact that they started using your reaction in here. So I really like what you said earlier about
you can use your reaction to either prevent an attack on an ally or cause disadvantage, or have an opportunity attack when any of your allies are disengaged within 10 feet.
Yes,
I think all three of those would be fine because it really plays to what's your level.
Yes.
And none of them are too OP that they're all like sub abilities. None of them are too.
And the 10-foot range, I don't think people realize how limiting that is.
That's
like
hugely limiting.
When you're in combat, if you have two people within 10 feet of you at the same time, that's kind of, unless you're being swarmed by like just a whole bunch of things, and then being able to do it between like two people is nothing. But so
I could even see at this point, Hecate, I could even see at any one of these levels before 14th giving you a boost to speed. Why not get an extra 5 or 10 10% or 5 or 10 feet movement with this subclass because of the slime? Why can't the slime make you move faster?
This is another super quick question for Hecate. I believe, I don't know if this was intentional or unintentional, but this is a 14th level feature. Traditionally, 14th level you get an ASI, and the 15th level is the martial archetype feature. So I'm curious if they meant this to be at 14
or 15
or at 15 with everything else.
Might have been an oversight.
18 does coincide with the
next one.
With the next one.
Of the 18. I think you're right though. I think we do really see 15 on this one.
But weirdly enough, if you scroll back, all the other mentions of stuff is also at 14th level. So is it like
maybe it was intentional then.
Yeah.
Well, that's at 7. So this is at cantrips at 10th and 17th.
Oh, and the other one was at 12th.
7th, and then the other one was at 12th. So maybe it was just a small oversight.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, I
Either way.
I like it. I just think that the teleport could be slightly altered. I just like, I mean, the restrained is so good. Being able to increase up to 30 feet to protect an ally because you're action surging, because again, you're doing the action surge to do another attack most likely. So to basically get a freebie, you're restrained. And imagine if it's the person right next to you and there's an ally next to you. You could action surge to hit them, but then also restrain them to get the advantage on the net. Like, there's ways that would stack better than just the teleport.
Yes, and the only thing I'm thinking, like, because you said they would both be in there because I can see wanting to
did mean 15th.
Okay.
Don't worry about it, Hecate. Yeah, so 15th level.
Okay, I was just checking because I noticed when he mentioned 15th level on the Eldritch Fighter, I was like, wouldn't that be the same level? But
it happens. We all make that little notations.
But yeah, so no, I definitely think that. Because I think the biggest thing that I would want to be able to do is use my reaction when one of my allies is getting attacked. And so I can't do that on an action surge because the action surge happens on my turn.
Right, which is why I love the secondary ability at 14th level, which is that you can do that with a reaction.
Which I'm just trying to think, should there be a way, like, maybe if I use my action surge, because you only get so many action surges. Like, at this point in the game, you have... No, I need table. At this point in the game, you have one action surge. So, I think maybe it would be cool is if you used your action surge last turn... But maybe because then it would suck to not use it. It would extend your range for this particular feature for the rest until the start of your next turn.
Okay,
so like I could use my reaction in 30 feet.
I think that
to
would
cause disadvantage.
I don't know. That might be a little bit too much
because it's only during the one turn you get to use it before you take a short rest.
Yeah, and it has to be after your action surge. Yeah,
and you don't necessarily know you're going to use it, but if say the wizard has a barbarian in front of him. Right, and I know they're going to use reckless attack or whatever the case may be, but they're too far away and I can't get to them in time. If I use my action surge, all right, and maybe I use my action to run or whatever the case may be, I get close enough, then I can use my reaction to...
But see, that's what I was saying though. Is if you my option though was during the action surge, you'd be able to do the restrained as a secondary, like you're doing the action surge for whatever reason, but anybody within 30 feet of you right now can then be restrained by the thread.
Yeah, I guess that would still be able to work.
I don't know. It's definitely an option. This definitely shows that there's a lot to play with here. I think we're both on the same page that we like the slime idea. This just feels a little bit like and again, you know what this probably is? This is probably less to do with what's the best directive for this type of subclass, and it's definitely more to do with what came from the anime. Right? It's not so much that this was a imbalanced idea. It's just more of this went alongside the anime. So this is the best representation that we have. So while we may have had our own approach to balancing this and the direction that we may have taken without the knowledge of the anime, that's why we didn't go in this direction. So we got to keep that in mind too.
Yes.
We keep forgetting that. This is from an anime. So the teleport, while it feels like it breaks it, it's definitely probably because of the source material and not so much because that's what the class asks for.
Right.
So we gotta put
which is definitely fair enough.
Yeah. All right, and then we get the other ASI after the 14th level, and then we get to 18th level. So this is just called I Am.
Okay.
All right. So when you reach 18th level, your magic control becomes perfected. You are able to unleash your magic in multiple different ways. You can use this ability once and regain the use of it at the end of a long rest. All right. So it looks like you get 3 different ways to use this. First way, atomic. You're able to concentrate your magic into your weapon, leading to a devastating subsequent strike. The impact releases an explosion of magic that disintegrates everything caught inside it. As an action, you raise your weapon in the air, causing your magic to absorb within the weapon, and erect a 20-foot-high cylinder barrier centered on you. Each creature within the barrier must make a dexterity saving throw. On a failed save, the target takes 8d6 plus 20 force damage and is knocked prone, and half as much on a successful save and is not knocked prone.
Okay.
So let's get through all of these before we cast
Okay.
Recover Atomic. After having so much time compressing your magic into the slime, you're able to release it in a burst of light at an atomic level, causing it to heal not only you but your allies to such a high degree that even some status conditions are healed. As an action, you gather magic within yourself, causing them to be compressed within the slime. The slime armor, then burst of light and magic is released from your body in a 30-foot-high cylinder centered on you. Each creature of your choice that you can see in the area heals 40 points, and any blindness, deafness, and any disease affecting the target is cured. While creatures you didn't target for healing must succeed a Constitution saving throw or be blinded. All range atomic is the third ability. You're able to concentrate your magic into your weapon, leading to a devastating subsequent strike. The impact releases an explosion of magic that disintegrates. Oh, okay. So it reads the same as atomic, except this one is a 40-foot-high cylinder centered on you. See, it says a 40-foot high, but it doesn't say. Is that supposed to mean diameter? Like,
I think it's radius, actually.
Okay, radius. Okay, so 20-foot plus 40-foot radius. Each creature takes 4d6 plus 20 and is prone. So 8d6 plus 20 within 20 feet, or 4d6 plus 20 within 40 feet. So it's the same attack. It's just you can go further distance, hit more people with half the damage.
Slightly less damage.
Is it?
Yeah, no, that is half the damage except for the plus. The plus stays the same.
But it's half the die roll with the plus. I will say it's a little weird to have almost the same ability in the same time, but I get it, right? It's like basically a smaller one or a larger one. So once again, this is probably just because this is more focused on the anime. This really kind of just goes derailment for me a little bit. It's a little bit out of the spectrum of where this came from, where are these explosions coming from? Because, like, again, the whole focus has been on slime, and now I just have a bunch of energy I can release. But I will say this: I do like the healing one. I think that's kind of cool. I like the idea of a healing.
I definitely like that.
And an attack option, right? So I'm already loving the duality of a healing and attack option. Now, with these, I can understand the explosive nature of the first one, right? This atomic explosion.
Mm-hmm.
I can kind of understand it because you've put all this, energy into your slime. You're making the slime explode. I would kind of expect it to be more of like your slime explodes into magical shrapnel doing this damage.
Okay.
I like that more than the beam, the column, right? I get the column is probably more akin to the anime, but I like the idea that it's more about the slime.
Yeah.
We have something from Hecate. The first atomic hits everything. The all range creates a barrier on your allies, so some more power is used to protect your allies. Interesting.
There are small barriers around your allies.
Gotcha. So they get an extra. Yeah. So that's where the damage goes. So yeah. So I kind of like the idea. I would have preferred it being a little bit more like on the idea, but at this point too, because of like the stage that we're at, I almost like, and this kind of goes back to the idea of collecting slime. I almost want an ability like this to set you back. You know what I mean? Like you have to recollect your slime after either a set amount of time.
I like the fact that this is,
because you regain it after a short rest.
Yeah.
Because here's the I could already hear the argument, right? Especially from you. You don't want to do that because, well, what if this is halfway through the fight? It doesn't work. It doesn't kill the PG, and then you lose your magic.
I actually kind of agree with you. I think that maybe not wholly, but you know how some creatures have like a reset, like a certain ability won't reset unless it's on like a roll of like a 5 or a 6 or something like that. Like, I kind of like the ability, like, you roll, like, a D6 or a D8, and that's how many rounds you have to wait for your slime to, like, make its way back to you.
Yeah, that would be perfect, because I like the idea that if I'm going to blow up, I shouldn't have armor, I shouldn't have disguise self, I shouldn't have my weapon, I should have used all of my slime up to do this much damage, like a lot of damage. And same thing with recovery, right? I'm basically trying to heal everybody in the party. I kind of got to give something up for that, right? Not just a once per day, but I kind of like the idea of it setting me back, because utilizing the slime aspect, right?
I would say I like, especially because the way he describes it, I would say I like the fact that the attack, all the magic gathers in your sword,
right? Yeah,
so your sword explodes, and so that's gone. But for the healing, all the magic gathers in your armor and that explodes, and so that has to reconstitute. So I kind of like having one in either of them, like, because I do agree with the setback, you know what I mean? And so having like one go away, so like if you use both of them, then both of them are gone, right?
Yeah. Oh, so one comes from the weapon, one comes from the armor.
Yes. So when you use the weapon one that hurts everybody, your weap's gone, and
but if you got to use this other one, and it gives you the option to use both of them.
Yes.
Or no, you can only use one. You can only use one once per day.
That's true.
You have to choose to lose your armor or lose your weapons. Now, Hecate does say, yes, this was definitely based on the armor, not necessarily focused on the slime. So that's to be fair. That, we're just trying to find the good balance here. So yeah, I like the atomic. I like the healing. I love that idea. I love the idea that you either have to get rid of your armor for the day or get rid of that plus magical weapon for, the next long rest. Mm-hmm. But then you can do this ability, right? And then at the next long rest, you regain this ability, and then you can get your armor or weapon back after you collect your slime. I do like that. Having the atomic have kind of like two ranges. I don't know if it's fully necessary. Definitely probably more part of the armor. If anything, just move the all atomic to level 20. Just give it that final, but there is a level 20 on here. So
I think this would be okay if you just combined the all range and the atomic. I think give it the full damage that you originally had on the first one, and give it the barriers.
Because you're basically giving up your armor to give them armor.
Right. And so, like, give them both of it, and that one would, the all-range one, so it still does the damage. It has the bigger range. Like, because, again, what level is this? This is level 18?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is level 18, man. Like, you're so close to being 20.
Or should it be if you use your weapon, right? If you use the weapon, you get the full range of both all atomic and atomic, right? You get the full range, full damage. But if you use the armor, not only do you heal everybody, but then you give everybody else temporary shields.
Interesting.
So it's give the entire party a health boost, including yourself. You lose your armor, but everyone else gets like a +2 to their AC. And
what
then
I like?
The damage one is the full damage, full range.
Think about this for a second. So you have the regular atomic, which blows up your sword. You have the regular recovery, which blows up your armor. If you choose, you can blow up both your weapon and your armor on the atomic to get the bigger effect, to get the shielding for your
everything.
Yes, everything. So
okay,
and then
so it's basically you have an attack ability, a heal ability, or an attack with
protecting your people.
Attack with shield.
Yeah, so it's almost like a suicide little thing for all your buddies, and like we stay safe in this little bubble. But I think you guys just have to protect me because I'm gonna be out.
I think that would go, and then that kind of loosely ties back into your magical weapon getting more and more powerful to the point where you can explode it, your armor getting more and more powerful.
Yeah.
So here's the other thing I would say too. And again, Hecate, we're not being too overcritical. This is just more from the D&D point. But if we are going to accept atomic recovery or the recovery atomic, I got to say, I need to see it sooner. And I don't mean this ability. This ability, level 18, fine. But level 7, level 10.
Oh, having any sort of
I should have been
ability.
I should have seen by level 7 or level 10, I can use my slime to cure minor diseases.
I got something super easy. So you know how you get second wind? That's your ability to heal yourself. Imagine
you can use a slime to second wind somebody.
Second wind somebody else, like over a short rest or something like that.
Something like that.
Or simple again, as that.
Or like, because we said, like, again, the atomic recovery cures all diseases. So why not earlier just say your slime can cure diseases? You can give it to a party member.
You can expend
and cure diseases
of second wind to cure a party member's disease or something like that.
And you're using the slime. Like, that would be, I would have, just because it's a cool ability. It's just, again, it's like, wait, now I can heal? I'm a like it. I like the trickle idea of I should have seen something along the lines to get me ready for this. So again, I don't want to change it, like, other than what we've already said. I don't want to get rid of it. It's just I would have liked some sort of idea. Like, it doesn't have to be a healing option, but even just a disease one, or purify food and water. You should have given, like, I would have loved to have seen a seed planted that this is where the ability is going to go.
So, and I don't know exactly how you feel about this, but I like the ability that, or the mindset that, even though, because we talked a while ago about classes in general and how your class is more than just a class. It's like lightweight your way of life, right? So even before I've chosen necessarily this subclass, I imagine this is where all my stuff's coming from. I imagine that I've had this slime from the jump, and I didn't just at a third level fighter become this. Like, I learned all regular fighting stuff. I imagine that specifically for somebody who's going down this road, this is something that, now, yes, you could be like,
say you stumbled across
I was
it,
a regular fighter, but I like the idea, at the very least, giving them, like, the ability or the option to say, like, this was always what I had. And with that, like, all of your fighter features are effects of this.
I got such a cool backstory for that.
And like, imagine, like, my action surge is just like the slime, like, injecting adrenaline in me or something crazy, or so my second wind is its ability to rejuvenate my muscles, or just whatever. Like,
so there's a cool backstory I could say for that too, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be Fae related. It could be in the Fae, or it could just be anywhere, right? Because I don't know if you've ever heard the story of back in the Civil War, what was it called? Angel's Glow. Are you familiar with this?
Angel's Glow.
From the Civil War. I think it's called Angel's Glow. So basically, back in the Civil War, there were reports where, when they would go out on the battlefields, like, after the fights were over during the day, they'd go and walk the battlefields to find the bodies and remove them. Gentleman's war, right?
Sure.
Well, they found that there was they started to notice something. When they were going out at night, they would actually find soldiers, both alive and dead, but a lot of them usually alive because they're going for the sound. That they would find them, and they would be like, their wounds would be glowing, like a light blue.
Interesting.
And when they would take them off the battlefield, and these were the ones that would typically survive. Like, it was mostly in survivor stories that this glow would happen, and they called it Angel's Glow because it was assuming, they just thought it was protection. But of course, science prevails, and what we found was that in those fields, in the very specific fields that the Civil Wars were fought in, there was a very specific bacteria, a bioluminescent bacteria, that got into the wounds of the soldiers. Now, this bacteria was beneficial. It was actually kind of like penicillin. It was actually eating away the infections. So when they went out on the field at night, when they found these soldiers and they saw the blue glow, and those were the ones that would heal. Those were the ones who had this infection, but this infection was actually fighting off staph and all of the other illnesses that would take you. Because back then, if it wasn't the bullet hole that got you, it was the infection.
100%.
This
100%.
Bacteria was staving off those infections, and they would survive.
I like that a lot.
And it's a real thing, 100% real thing. It wasn't like just superstition. These guys were glowing on the battlefield and would survive, and then we just found out years later by testing it, it's just a bacteria. It just happened to glow in certain conditions, and they would see that. But that's what it makes me feel like, right? It feels like, so here's the backstory, is whether, like, you could say it's in the like in a Fae forest, but imagine this soldier was a soldier, right? He was a soldier, an ensign, super low infantryman, like first year, first war, and he goes down in battle. He's laying there in battle, thinks it's all done for. He thinks he's bleeding out, and then he doesn't. He wakes up the next morning, battlefield's just dead. Like, there's just dead silence, right? He's the only one alive, and he's covered in this slime. There's slime on his wounds, and he just doesn't know where it came from. But it's like going over all of the bodies, right? And he just and then he thought he was going to die. Maybe he passes out, and then it almost like nurtures him back. Like he eats a little bit of it, and it's like nutrient based. And that's his backstory. Just he was a soldier. He lost his first battle, but he survived because of this slime, and now it's just part of him. And then it just, he just was like, fine, I'm going to figure out why this thing kept me alive. And now you get to this point to where it starts to infuse him with magic. And then you could just add it to like, it was a battle with the Feywild or whatever, because then you can add in the fact that it was like magical slime.
Right.
I know that Hecate was all about, hey, it's supposed to be anywhere, right? You can find this slime anywhere. But I just like the idea, thinking about that, like, the bacteria, imagining just like this fighter went to this big battle, lost, but it was the slime that saved his life. Yeah. And that's how he bonded with it. And
maybe your version of finding the slime anywhere is this slime just like can multiply or can reproduce, or it's just it keeps oozing out,
and that's why you don't have to keep finding it. It's everywhere in nature, but it still grows.
Yes.
So those are some unique ideas for you, Hecate. But yeah, that would be a cool little backstory. And then definitely there were some crazy, what we would consider minor injuries nowadays that took you out back then. Like there were some crazy things. I really do like this. I feel like if you're gonna have me heal, I would have liked some indication that was coming earlier on.
That's fair.
Just to keep the synergy. But otherwise, I don't dislike a powerful explosion, and I don't mind a powerful ally boost. I kind of like that. That's where we're headed with this, right? It's kind of it's really trying to be a not specific, you're just a fighter or you're just a tank. It's kind of trying to be that a valuable character, like a viable flex character.
Yes.
Without trying to be a jack of all trades.
Exactly.
It does what it does very well.
You're not like a cannon. You're not going to be something that's like hugely damage dealing. You got a little bit of battlefield control. You got a little bit of being able to protect your allies and help them out, give them a little bit of HP. But for the most part, you do what fighters do. You smash things a whole bunch. You hit them a lot, and you're just good at doing it. Yeah. So I really like the balance on that.
And I really do like the fact that, we're looking at fighter. You're getting some, you're getting weapons for yourself. You're getting armor for yourself. You're getting a little bit of battlefield control later down the road. And then eventually you become a little bit more useful to the party overall. Like in a pinch, you can do a lot of damage or you can heal, right? I don't necessarily mind that. And I don't think that... we were supposed to, I wouldn't want to see you healing since day one, right? That would feel like a jack of all trades too much. Mm-hmm. But that's why even something as small as this slime can get rid of disease as an early stage just gives me the idea that this is coming, that I'm going to be a valuable player outside of just dealing damage, right? It would have been just kind of that cue off that there's more to this slime than just personal enhancement.
Right.
But again, not something that's like game breaking, just feels like it would have been a better setup.
Yeah.
And then we finally actually have one that has level 20.
Yes.
So at level 20, we get Eminence.
Just so you know, this is not common. This is not common. Most the level 20 feature is just getting a third extra attack.
I kind of like that the 20th level ability is also the name.
That is
full circle.
That is very cool.
I will say this though. One thing I have noticed is we haven't really mentioned it, and I think it's just because it hasn't stood out. There hasn't really been any like naming scheme. I haven't really felt like there's been a congruent naming scheme.
Right.
Not that that's a bad thing. I have noticed that this is the first name that's really like popped out as like, I got that.
This is the thing.
So Eminence. At 20th level, you become an Eminence Being. You have resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing.
Okay.
I get it because you're like covered fully in the slime.
Is it specifically from non-magical or just period?
I would like to see non-magical. I think period might be a little bit much, but
I mean, barbarians get period. Barbarians get period from the jump lightweight.
I mean, that's fair. At 20th level, yeah, you could probably get it up from all at that point. Yeah, because you're also imbued with magical slime at this point.
Is it period for barbarians? Let me make sure I'm not.
Your slime and magic have intertwined to an atomic level, and you're able to create slime armor and weapons equal to half your proficiency bonus rounded down that you can give to your allies. You can only create weapons and armor that your allies are proficient with, and that they are they are considered magical and have a +3. So this is definitely in a pinch if you guys all haven't. I mean, by this time everyone has a plus weapon. So really, either everyone just got some bad luck on roll tables, or someone broke a weapon mid-fight. Like, there's not a lot of reason why you would do this.
Is this up to a +3?
They just have a +3. So yeah, I'm assuming just up to, but you can just make them +3. And then as your magic is refined past the normal limits of mortals, you can now increase the damage die of atomic and an all range atomic by 1. So you can do another attack die. While your recovery atomic increases healing by 10, and you can now regenerate lost limbs. That's pretty big.
That's very cool.
And I think we have some artwork. Yeah, some more interesting artwork. All right, let me think on this real quick. I'm going to step out real quick, but yeah, I got to think on this last one.
Okay. So, slime and your magic intertwine to the atomic level. You can create slime armor and weapons equal to your proficiency bonus rounded down. I'm guessing that means, like, I can create a piece of armor, a weapon. So if, like, my proficiency bonus is a 6, I can create 3 pieces of armor and 3 weapons, right? That's what I'm assuming. And I'm at level 20. Your proficiency bonus is a 6, unless you got something that boosts it, which would be freaking insane. Your proficient with that are considered magical and have a +3. So wow, that's pretty crazy. As your magic is refined past normal limits for mortals, you can now increase the damage die of atomic range by 1. While your recovery account increases by 10, and you can now regenerate lost limbs. So I'm curious if the lost limb recovery is something that has to be associated with recovery atomic. If you can only get a lost limb when you use recovery atomic, the ability.
That's what I'm thinking. That's how I read it.
Okay.
Because it's while your recovery atomic increases by 10 and can now regenerate. So it's when you use that ability, it regenerates lost limbs, which is situational, you know. But at 20th level, it kind of makes sense to just add it in. And I'm sure that's also part of the
so
anime.
My question would be, say if you lost a limb and you hadn't used your recovery atomic yet, and say it had been a week and it had healed over and whatever, could I use it and then that limb would now be back?
I think typically that's a DM call. I think typically you wouldn't be able to. I think the idea is that it's similar to like healing potions. It's fresh wounds only. Like once you get all your HP back, healing potions don't help you. Even though you were damaged,
you're not anymore.
Yeah. So, because like how my DM used to rule it is there was regen potions. Like you can actually get potions that would like regen body limbs. Mm-hmm. If you were already healed, you'd actually have to re-injure yourself in order for it to work. So like if you lost a leg and they'd sew you back up, you'd have to rip open the sutures before you could take it. Otherwise, your body wouldn't have anything to regrow. So like the idea was you had to like essentially recause the wound. So if it wasn't a fresh wound or like very recent.
Imagine you lost your leg like just below the knee. And you cut it and it healed over and whatever, but you finally got this potion. If you cut it off above the knee and drank the potion, you'd get the whole leg back?
That was how he ruled it.
Interesting.
Though it would be hella funny, though, is if there was a secret time frame where you're like, oh, well, I'm going to regrow my leg back. So you cut it off at the knee, then you drink the potion, it only grows back to where it was before. It's like, damn it! It's been too long!
That would be so upsetting.
But yes, no, his mindset was, it doesn't matter how long. You could have, 10 years, and your arm's been missing. If you just rip it off, like whatever is there, if you rip off what's there and then drink it, your whole natural thing grows back.
Okay.
And then even Hecate says, yeah, leave that to DM on whether or not you could do that, to an old guy, an old vet, and he just grows his limbs back, or if it has to be like they're still wounded.
Interesting. Yeah, because that would be crazy. Imagine you just like sit there and daily somebody comes to you who's lost a limb and you'd be like, here you go, you can have it back now. Because it doesn't say it just works on you. It just says your healing is increased and you can regenerate.
It's all healing.
Yeah. So.
Man, that could be a good plot point. Like you have one of those, allies that's actually an enemy that no one knows about until you finally get that ability. Then you finally use it around them, and then you heal a limb that they need to like access their evil power, kind of like imagine like Elfin Lied, but it's their vectors that were cut off.
Yeah.
So they're buddy with you. You finally get this. You get you get to use it, and they're just like finally, and then like their wings come back. They're like an angel, and they're like, yeah, I got my, and then they get their power back, and then they turn out to be like
crazy.
That would actually be kind of
really cool.
dope. Have an NPC that you have no idea is like a fallen angel, and then all it's trying to do is get healed to get its power back.
You know, it'd be so crazy is if they had planned this whole thing out, like they were like the NPC that you guys had like grown up with and like traveled with all the way to freaking level 20, and he was the one that like took you on all your quests to like gather all the things.
Just to do that.
And it was all his plan in the first place, and the second you get that, and he was counting on you, like you were the key to all this, because only this type of healing would actually,
that would be fucking dope, dude. That would be so awesome.
That would be so stupid.
Okay, so
I'd love to do that to my players.
So looking at this, okay, so right off the bat, I think the only thing I really like about this is the resistance. I think I like the resistance, the armor becoming just that much more powerful, because we haven't heard much from the armor. You know what I mean? Like, you got to be armor, then you got to alter yourself. We haven't heard anything about your armor since 7th level. So coming full circle and saying that you have now resistance to all of these damage types, I like that. It just really shows the robustness of your armor.
I definitely like that.
Now, I brought up earlier the idea that I would have liked to have seen something more akin to, if I can create a mundane weapon, then later I can make a magical weapon. I wouldn't mind being able to, say, use my slime to imbue someone else's weapon or give them armor. Mm-hmm. I think that could easily be tied into this, and I think that would be a better explanation to temporarily charging, you know, your buddy's weapons. Because at this point, instead of making them a whole brand new weapon, you could say, hey, you can use your slime to boost any weapon up to a maximum of +3.
I do like that.
Because let's say you had a +2. You don't want to get rid of yours. Let's say you have a special ability. All I can do is make you a +3 weapon, but you have a +2 that does XYZ. Mm-hmm. But if I had the ability to increase yours up to a +3, so I could take a mundane and put, or maybe I can only give it a +1. Maybe my slime can give any weapon a +1 magical. So it can bring a mundane to a magical, a +1 magical to a +2, and a +2 to a +3. So then that way,
I'll say this. I like the idea. I like the idea that you just, especially because it's level 20, and like we're out here, we're trying to be powerful, we're trying to be beefy, and say they don't already have the gear that's just one step below what they need. I like the idea that it's like, hey, again, like you said, I'm using my slime to affect things up to my proficiency modifier, which at level 20 is going to be 6. Mm-hmm. So I can either do 3 weapons and 3 pieces of armor, or I can do 6 weapons, right?
Yeah.
Whatever the case may be. Maybe the wizard's not going to use armor, or whatever. Maybe they want to use it on their spell book. Maybe it could work on making a +3 spell book or something like that. I feel like that might be hard, but
that's why it's like the idea of even if you just say it can bring anything up to a +3.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
At that point, because at least that way, again, it's an equalizer. Instead of it being a replacement, it's just making sure the whole party's on the same level. You can make it once per day, so it's like you have to upkeep it, you know, every day. But it's basically just for the campaign, right? Just for the gaming session.
And I would even say you could do something like, if you use it on heavy armor, it removes any disadvantages to stealth or something like that.
Yeah, and then you could do something like where if it's equal to your proficiency modifier, while these are active, you have that many less threads. Right? So if you have 6 threads at this point, but you've boosted 2 of your party's weapons, now you only have 4 threads. Mm-hmm. Right? Because you're...
What are the threads based on?
Your proficiency bonus, right? So... It's the one that you can pick up items, right? You can either go against an enemy and restrain them, or pick up to a number of items equal to your proficiency modifier.
Got it. So you'd still be able to do the main part of it.
You'd still be able to restrain people, but you're using them up, right? So it's like if you only have as many as your proficiency modifier, mm-hmm. if you're building everybody's weapon up, then you wouldn't have as many of these. So it's still that like tacticalness of you don't just want to make you don't. I mean, again, it's kind of leaning into this character of you're the reason the whole party is that powerful. Like if you're telling me that the whole party doesn't have +3 weapons, so you can just dish them out, like. Why?
I also kind of like the idea that maybe you can do this, like it lasts for 24 hours, but you have to like do it every day. So like as long as you guys are together.
And I would get rid of the ritual part. Like you have to do a ritual to make your whole own weapon, but for me to give you just a bonus, all I'm doing is putting a little bit of slime on your weapon. It's your weapon. The slime just forms over your weapon like the slime forms over my body. It just forms over your weapon and then turns invisible, like the thing turns into clothes.
Right.
So it looks to you like your weapon, but your weapon's just doing extra damage because now it's covered in my magical slime.
Yes.
It's literally infused. It's not infused. It's coated with my magical slime.
Almost like a silver coating a weapon or something like that.
Exactly. And so that way you could describe why for 24 hours it acts like a +3.
Yes.
Or, a +3 magical weapon, because it's literally any weapon coated in my slime. And you remove the ritual component, so it's instantaneous. I can just touch it, kind of like an artificer's imbuement. I can just touch your weapon and boom, you have the plus. Midway through battle, you now have a plus weapon. Midway through battle, I walk up behind somebody, boom, now you have armor. Like, just the idea that you get rid of the time frame, so now you have these equal to your proficiency bonus, these just quick ways that you can use your slime to boost the party. I love that idea. I really like where we're going with this and being able to boost the party. I just feel lore-wise, I'd like to see it more as you're using the slime. And again, I 100% understand Hecate's leaning into the anime, and the anime didn't really focus on the slime to that extent. But just the translation into a D&D setting, I think it would have made more sense to just keep everything tied to using bits and parts of the slime. Like, again, the symbiote suit, right? Because that's what it really feels like the character's doing. It's utilizing bits and parts of this imbued magical slime that you have. And I feel like it can just be more versatile, right? You can just kind of have this idea. Instead of you're creating these weapons for your allies, you're just imbuing things that already exist.
Right.
And imagine the ability. Imagine your barbarian loses their weapon, gets disarmed, and then picks up like a club or picks up a chair, and it's improvised. And you're like, hey, buddy, that's now a magical improvised weapon. Right. How fucking cool would that be that you could just be like, hey, bud, before you do that. Or, like you're about to like do an ambush, and the archer's about to let go an arrow, and you're like, hey, by the way, +3 arrow. Just real quick, code it, and just that would be cinematically so much more cool than just, hey guys, I spent the afternoon, here's everyone's weapon.
Yes, but you could also do it like that. Like, say if you're going into like a big fight and you want to prepare, like you can totally prepare for a fight like that. But at the same time, I think that I really like the idea of, it's like, okay, I don't necessarily know who's going to need this right now. So now I have the ability, and I would still word it like, hey, when you activate this ability, it stays on their weapon, armor, whatever, until you, the caster, take a long rest.
Right.
Right.
Ooh, hello? What was that for?
Was that another follower?
Badu Bab, thank you so much for the follow. Really appreciate that.
Thank you, brother.
Awesome. Hope you're enjoying the show so far. I agree. I think that I like the versatility of being able to do it on the spot instead of like premeditatively like create weapons for everybody. And I think I like the idea. I really think one thing that's missing is, because I was able to create armor for myself and I can heal other people and I can imbue other people or create other people's magical weapons, why can't I give them armor? Like, I kind of feel like it's missing that I can't just give you a couple bonuses to AC because some of my slime's now on you.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
I totally feel like that's warranted. So giving people like up to, I like that you're not like making it stupid, like, oh, I can give you a +7,
No, just like,
8,
like up to a +3.
Like
I can either give your weapon up to a +3 or your armor a +3 to what it is.
Yeah.
Like, what? Like, because basically all you're doing is you're turning the weapon into a +3 weapon or armor into a +3 armor. It's the same base. All you're doing is giving it the +3 magical bonus.
How? Because I'm curious on how I would rule it myself. How would you rule that when it comes to unarmored defense? Would you say it just works the exact same way? It like kind of like blends into them. Like say the barbarian's just some shirtless dude and I want to touch his shoulder. Would that +3 just be a +3 on top of whatever his unarmored defense would be?
I think so, because again, it's like if you're using the slime, it's like my slime on me polymorphs and looks like whatever I want. But on that barbarian, it would basically be an invisible shirt. It would basically be a hardened sheen that moves and melds with him. But like Kevlar, the moment it's struck, hardens like steel.
Interesting.
And takes the blunt, right?
Like, I'm here for that.
I am imagining that's what this slime is doing. I'm imagining this slime is as it moves with me like nothing. I don't feel the slime on me, right? It moves perfectly with me, but the moment something impacts it, it goes hard and prevents me from being hurt. That's what I'm imagining, right? There's another aspect we haven't even talked about, right? If it can act as armor, does this give me a increased fall damage? maybe at level 10 I should be able to fall to 10 feet, an extra 10 feet without taking damage, because the shock, it absorbs the shock, right?
That's crazy.
Like you could, like, there are ways that you could continue diving in to this slime idea.
No, I definitely like that. So, weirdly enough, I believe Hecate mentioned it earlier in the stream, but even the anime doesn't focus as much on the slime.
It's just
itself.
more of an explanation of how it got it. But then it goes, it's more about the magic.
I do like, because again, we're all about like synergy and consistency and like everything like kind of having their own.
You're not just watching this. You don't want the explanation. You also, someone's playing this. Someone is
very much
actively
so.
like, what do these powers mean? And some people don't care. Some people just want to know what is the power. But we're the kind of players who are like, but what is this power? Like, how am I using it? What is it? What am I doing?
Honestly, it gives me such inspiration for how to role play and play my character, right? Because not all of it, like a lot of it will be in combat. Like if I think of a creative way to, use my tendrils, right? Mm-hmm. Like imagine if I mean, it probably wouldn't work that way, but I mean, theoretically, no, because you'd way more. I'm just trying to think of a way, like maybe I could like jump and like use my tendrils to attach to something and maybe like hold myself in place.
Oh, like yeah,
but like
okay. So here's what I was just thinking, kind of along that same lines, is this would be one of those great subclasses when we want to do our I forget what we called it, but we want to do the series where
we're
repurposing series, right?
Yes.
So we want to do a series called repurposing, where we take subclasses and instead of just make a whole bunch of subclasses that all do the same thing, we want to take a subclass and kind of make it like, not a race, but almost like its own category, right? And this would be kind of cool, right? An eminence category where you have this fighter who has all of these cool abilities from the slime. So imagine a rogue who has this slime. Give it things like spider climb. The fighter has no use for spider climb, but imagine the rogue being able to use the slime to stick to walls, and now it has spider climb. Yes. Imagine a monk being able to fall an extra 10, 15 feet because he can put all the slime into his feet and use it as a cushion to land on his fall. Mm-hmm. Imagine another class being able to use it to make like a wingsuit so they can glide. Not fly, but they could jump off something and glide.
I can see a ranger using something like that.
Right? Like, I that's what I want to talk about repurposing, where we take this kind of subclass, but then repurpose it, these abilities, but repurpose them to each subclass. Because, again, I love this idea, but you're telling me that because, I always look at, like, classes aren't a singular thing, right? There's going to be multiple instances. So every single person to find this slime is only a fighter. Only fighters find the slime, or only people who find the slime turn into fighters. Mm-hmm. There's going to be a rogue that finds slime. There'll be a wizard that finds slime. How cool would it be to give a rogue different abilities? Not the same ones, not the armor, not the weapon, but different abilities that manifest from the slime, right? And I think this would be a cool, because like you're saying, that would be a cool way to climb or to levitate, but not for a fighter. But imagine a wizard being able to say that they can, levitate 10, 20 feet off the ground with their tendrils, so they can be a spellcaster that's 10 feet up and 10 feet away from you. So now how are you going to hit him? Like that could, so the spellcaster can't do all the other stuff that the rogue could do, that the fighter could do, but the spellcaster only can get off the ground. Mm-hmm. And then that way they're harder to hit because they're the glass cannon. Like each class could have a different way they use this slime. So I like this idea. I think interesting. I think Eminence should be another one that we do this with.
I like that.
Simply because I think this will lend itself to other class features, right? Other classes I think could benefit from this idea, not these abilities, but this idea. But yeah, so I really like this. I think it's actually a really awesome idea. I'm definitely going to give it the inspiration point, the idea of this slime, this symbiote, and these abilities. I'm going to give it that. I'm actually going to give it less, or I'm going to give it. It does have a lot of compatibility issues in terms of the lore and not so much the balancing, but just the approach. I would say that it would normally get more negatives off of that, but I'm also going to give it the bonus because I really think that this gives me not a new idea, but it really opens up the idea to what's between a jack of all trades and a master.
Interesting.
Because this isn't just a fighter. I get all these magical weapons and I get to do all this damage. It's not, I'm a fighter that can heal. It's not, I'm a fighter with shit tons of armor, no one can touch me. It's a fighter that gets armor, gets a plus weapon, eventually can heal its party, but it's also just a fighter, right? It's not a jack of all trades. It can't do a shit ton of healing.
I would say you're not a healer. Like
no,
you can,
but you can
help somebody not die, but you're not a healer.
Yeah, but you're also not. This isn't going to make you a tank. This is not going to replace the barbarian or the paladin. But it's also not going to. This isn't going to be the heaviest hitter, but it is going to be an early heavy hitter. This is
going to be a lot of hitter.
This is that area where it's versatility, right? This is not a jack of all trades. It's not a master, but it's a very versatile what it is. It's a fighter.
It's
a versatile fighter.
I will say the way that this class was put together was incredibly skillful in order to...
That's a good way
in order to craft like all of these abilities that don't feel not only out of place, but like you said, overwhelming when it comes to the rest of the party, because there are some that can just feel like they're just a show taker. Like there's no point in anybody else being in the party when you're freaking Superman over here. You know what I mean?
And this is I think a good representation of a good crossover, like a good pop culture reference being shifted. Now, granted, we would have taken it different directions with this idea, but knowing that it's based off of a anime lore, right? I feel like it was well transitioned, because even though we would have gone different directions, none of this felt so not D&D. None of this felt like it didn't belong in D&D.
I do agree with that. I feel like, especially because, and this might just be our fault, or not our fault, but like from our perspective, like when we heard this, we initially were like, "Oh, this is like a slime thing."
Yeah,
and
that was what we
took away from it. But again, like
it was more about the imbuement of
like imagine
of
if
magic.
If you've ever seen the anime Hunter x Hunter, like if somebody tried to make a class about Nen, right? Like a power set for Nen. Like if somebody tried to do that, like a subclass or whatever the case may be, like would somebody reading it think that Nen is just chi, or would someone think that Nen is, some other sort of physical manifestation or something like that? Like, are we supposed to understand what the anime believes that its power set is?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and so like I don't want to take any points away from that, because I believe what's here is great. And, again, in all the descriptions, it's talking about, you even said your manipulation of magic and your specific refined control over the slime and stuff like that is increasing as time goes on. So, like, that is what's being communicated. There's lots of...
absolutely.
But it's like how... Like, what does that look like? What is the embodiment of that? And so,
and I will say, it doesn't fall apart. It may have derailed our expectations, but overall, it doesn't fall apart. It doesn't go off in some wild tangents and just start adding random stuff. It's just not the direction that we would have anticipated.
And I feel like that almost lends to players being able to uniquely say, this is what I think mine would look like. Somebody could be like, yes, this is slime for me. Somebody else is like, no, this is my magic, and my magic just controls this slime in this way or whatever. And they can say it and they can use it however they like. So yeah. I'm not opposed to that either.
Yeah, no, I really like this. I mean, yeah, we've talked a lot about the things that we would have approached it, but overall, it's very well balanced. It's very well put together. It's a good transition from an anime. Everything is, like you said, it was so well thought through, when things would be added at what levels in order to correspond with, the leveling process. Like, not, at 7th level, first level, you're going to get a 2nd level spell. You get the 7th level alteration spell. It's just, it ties in beautifully on so many different levels. Like I said, there's a couple things. There's a couple things I would reorder. Maybe a couple things I would slightly modify in terms of like how the power would work, and obviously a little bit more focus on the slime. But I mean, this is really good, and it does make me want to approach things slightly differently. Like, it just makes me want to take a second and think a little bit more through some of the things, because it reminds me a lot of how I did my magic classes. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm gonna drop this one a 7 out of 10.
7 out of 10. Beautiful.
It's really close. Like I said, there's a lot that I would lore-wise shift around, but as is, it's not bad. I would say more times than not, when I have something that doesn't fit with High Point, it's usually because it can't as is, right? It's more like this won't work with my lore. This one's the closest one to being... It's not the fact that this won't work with High Point, it's just that it doesn't synergize as well with High Point, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Like, mechanically speaking, this could, as written, run in High Point just fine. Mechanically speaking. I could run this in High Point with no issues. It just wouldn't synergize as well with the way I narrate and tell stories. Like, the way the slime works, technically, like we've already talked about it, it can work this way. Like, these abilities can work as they are, but it's not the way I would have gone about making it, like explaining it in High Point. I can make it work this way, but I wouldn't want it to work this way. So that's why it gets, because I mean, realistically, if it weren't so well put together, it probably would have been closer to a 5 just because of the way I would have had to change a bunch of things. But again, looking at the big picture and looking at what it's trying to do and what it's not trying to do, it works. It could be very easily picked up and utilized. I do like what you said. I think that this definitely leads into more creative DMs who can allow a player to slightly alter some things in order to make it work. But otherwise, no, it's really cool. I like this one. I love the idea of the slime. I really feel like things like that, it's like a lot of times it's either I'm just this good because of my skills, I'm just this good because of my brain, I'm just this good because of my brawn, or I'm just this good because of my magic. You know what I mean? It's like very like, I'm this good because of me. This is kind of cool because it's just like it's a relationship. It's like I am this good, but I'm this good, but I also have enhancements that aren't me.
Yes, and it's like my goodness makes us good. That's what I like. It's just like, my goodness is not just me being awesome. My goodness is you get a +1 weapon. My goodness is you potentially don't get taken down because I can give them disadvantage. It's yes, I can stop them. Yes, I can hit them, but I can also help you. I can also help you, you know? And so I'm definitely here for that. I'm definitely here for that.
Also considering too, we also haven't thought about this. Another good reason early on to also include the slime alteration, the ability to create weapons early on, is it also kind of takes away the fact that like you would be the one party member who everybody could be stripped and thrown in jail and you'll still have your shit.
Yes,
because your slime's still on you. They can't, unless they can detox you and like hose you down. Technically, you come back, you wake up, you have your armor, and in an hour you have a weapon.
Yeah.
So
and you can hide that weapon in your armor. It's just
legit. I really do think that having the ability to create a mundane weapon early on is probably a really good idea. But yeah, no, I think a solid 7 out of 10. I think that this has a lot of value to anybody's game session. I think it has a lot of opportunities to be expanded upon or manipulated to better fit certain settings. But overall, it's not unaligned in terms of its balance. It's just not my preference.
Yeah,
but I'm not going to take points off for preference. I'm going to take points off for compatibility. So that's where it's going to land.
Okay. I'm here for it. I am definitely here for it.
Yeah, I liked that, though. That was fantastic. Thank you, Hecate. If you're still around, I really do appreciate that submission. Thank you so much for that.
No, most definitely. Much appreciated.
Oh, Hecate, so I wholeheartedly agree with y'all. I would love to make it more synergized, but I wanted to stay true to the anime, which I haven't seen the anime, but I can tell that you did. I can see the decisions that you made to stick with the visual.
They sent me a clip in Discord that I'm going to check out in a little bit.
Yeah, I'm going to check that as soon as we stop.
It's of him using the atomic ability.
Oh, nice.
So I want to see what that's like.
But Hecate does thank us for the review. Excited with the next one since it has the new spells and condition. Ooh. Well, you're very welcome. I'm always so happy to be able to do these. I'm glad that, again, I'm just, it's great that people want to hear, you know what I mean? It's not, I don't want to say it's great that people want to listen to me and people like my ideas, but I love the collaboration. I love talking with you and getting these ideas out. But I love the idea of being able to help people along in their ideas and get them to where they
desire it to be.
Like, yes. I'm not here to tell you how you need to do it. I just love the idea that with each of these conversations, the goal is that out there they're getting closer to what they want, right? Whether again it's already what they wrote and we're just solidifying it based on what we're talking about, or they're taking what we wrote, or they're coming up with new ideas based on what we said. It doesn't matter to me.
I mean, shoot, that's what we're doing, coming up with new ideas as we go through. Doesn't matter to me if
they take our idea or not. But yeah, just it's so great to be able to have people submit to us, because it's a trust factor, right? It's like I could sit here and we could probably become famous just tearing people a new one, talking shit about their homebrew, right? I mean, that's this drama. People love doing that,
of course.
But it's also just it's hard to create something, have a love for it, and hand it to somebody who's going to tell you, I don't like this, or I would have done it better, or I mean, but that's not what we want to do. I don't want to say
that is a lot of people's attitudes, though.
We just want to go, hard. Oh, this is cool. My brain says this is the direction I would have walked, but that's not saying that you went the wrong way, right? We never want to say, oh, well, you took the wrong path, or you didn't know where you were doing. It's just more of a, I see where you went. Do you want to see where I went? And it's humbling to me to have people out there who not only enjoy what we say and enjoy the process, but trust the process. Like, not trust it as in we're going to give them the right idea, but trust it as in we're not going to take what they are and just slam them forward and disrespect their creation. And I really want to stay true to that, because I love it. I love talking about the ideas. I love expanding upon them. I love taking, the inspirations it gives me and bringing that back to High Point, right? Like, that's what this is all about. It's that community collaboration, but I don't know. It's right along that line of people's comfort, because like who wants to hear, their pet project be who wants to hear that the pet project isn't all what they thought it was, right? So I don't know what else to say. It's such an appreciation to see people want to hear from us, right? And it's not an ego thing of, yeah, my ideas are so great. It's just wait, you actually like
the collaboration. You
trust
is
that?
cool.
Like, you're okay with me saying these?
It's very nice, and I'm glad that we have developed a community where people feel comfortable doing that. And I will say, I am also very excited about his next.
His daughter gave us that's so cute.
That is adorable. I love that so much. But no, his next one is the Ice Monarch.
The Ice Monarch. Oh my God. So we have a Shadow Monarch and an Ice Monarch.
It's a sorcerer subclass that's all devoted to ice spells, and there are new ice spells that were created for this. I am so happy for this, because this is one of those things that we've talked about in terms of subclasses, where it's like there was this old school mindset way back in the day when like sorcerer was kind of first coming out, where sorcerer was just deemed as like a fire mage. It was basically just a wizard, but solely focused on fire. That was kind of like the very first birth idea of this stuff. But this is something that I'm so looking forward to, because this is an area that we really haven't gotten to see fully fleshed out with Wizard of the Coast, right? Like a full-on fire mage. Like back in the day, you had things like Illusionist, right? Where they kind of focus on illusion power, but full-on subclass builds that really just hone in on a specific type of like school or a type of magic is something you don't really see, right? Because every spellcaster just gets a list of spells, but none of them really lean into you are doing this type of magic. It's just well, here's all the spells you can do. Here's maybe a couple bonuses if you use these other spells, but it's never been so drastically different. Like giving a fire mage being like, hey, every time you use fire, any fire spell, extra d4 of damage. Every other spell, let 1d4 less damage. That would be so drastically different. Just that one minute change to a subclass. You get bonus damage when you use the spell of your choice and less damage when you don't. You would literally have a built-in way for them to literally not build anytime,
all this.
Yeah, you would want to go cast, like imagine you're a lightning mage and you wanted to cast a fire spell,
like Firebolt.
Yeah, exactly.
Because how many people who are spellcasters who want Scorching Ray, Firebolt, Eldritch Blast, these are all low-level spells that every spellcaster does. Why? Because why wouldn't you? It's literally like, it's basically the lowest hanging fruit, and it makes you the most valuable. But if you had a subclass that's like, you do that, you're gonna kick yourself.
I do like having, because, and I think here's the deal. I I was fortunate enough to get to put together a lot of the stuff into the new format, and so I got to see a lot of the stuff that was put in there, and I got to transition a lot of the spells in there for the Ice Monarch. Okay. And I love the direction that Hecate went with a lot of these spells.
Awesome.
Like
I'm so looking forward to it.
I'm very excited because like I think that so much more can be done with that. When we were talking just a minute ago about repurposing these classes and like giving a lot more, like imagine being able to do this with other, like imagine there being yes, this is a sorcerer, but imagine there being a wizard who their subclass, their focus of expertise is cold or is temperature or whatever the case may be. Like that would be cool. Like that would be a great way to repurpose somebody who's maybe more on the scientific aspect of it, like the actual, like, you know, the intellectual aspect, the learning aspect, rather than just I'm an ice mage or I'm an ice sorcerer.
How easy would it be to just change the elemental aspect of many spells? You could just say you know that spell, but it's now this element instead.
Yes,
just it's easy to do all that.
I swear there's a subclass that does that, but
apparently our reaction made him and his daughter smile. Apparently they're just dying over it. That's awesome. You guys are cute. You guys are awesome. But no, I'm super excited about that. When is that happening? Is that next week? Or?
That is not next week. Okay. We got a couple before then.
So what do we have to look forward to next Monday?
Next Monday we have the next in Desmar Sama's list. I'm sad they're not here anymore. They were here a minute ago, but I think they might have left our chat. Their next artificer subclass is called the Mercurialist.
The Mercurialist.
Yes, and
that sounds like an alchemist again, or not alchemist, but
artificer. Yes,
it's another artificer.
It is. Okay. It is another artificer, and I do believe it's focused on constructs still to a certain extent. But when you think of Mercurialist, think of the substance mercury.
Okay, I was kind of like picking that up.
That's where my mind goes.
So liquid metal. We're basically a liquid metal
lightweight
artificer.
Lightweight.
Okay.
I honestly wanted to steal some images from the later Terminators to put in here, but I'm very interested to see where it goes.
And Hecate has a new artificer subclass coming soon, the Gunblade Support.
Interesting.
It's just called the Gunblade Support class. So I don't know if it's Gunblade Support or just Gunblade, and it is a support class.
Okay.
But that's cool. I would be totally down to review a Gunblade. I know some people are like, I don't have guns in High Point like in the traditional sense, but I do have like higher, more advanced weapons.
Right.
But I know some people aren't really interested in like the mechanical aspects of D&D, like guns and things like that.
Yeah.
But being a support class, that I want to know what that looks like. I want to know what a Gunblade class looks like that's a support, but I also want to know what a support artificer, because I feel like artificer is one of those classes that lends itself to be a great supporting character, but I don't really feel like any of the subclasses that I've seen with it really like really lean into that, right? Like
being a support class,
you have the imbuements and all of that, but it's never really felt like it like holds.
In combat, you don't feel like I'm being a support. Like as a cleric, I would say that feels very supporty. I'm casting bless, I'm giving you sanctuary, I'm doing all these things. You know,
artificer seems more supportive out of combat.
Yes, supportive with your gear, supportive with, potential enhancements, things of that nature.
But I'd like to see a true support class, so I'm really excited for that one. Okay, cool. Yeah, let us know when you submit that, Hecate. We will definitely get that in. And then we have the Artificer subclass for next Monday, and that was from who? That was from
Dez.
Yeah. So we'll have another one from Dez next Monday, and then this Friday, join us because we will be looking at the history of what was it again? We were just talking about earlier.
I wrote it in the chat. Hold on.
We did. It's going to be another history of, but it was a good one. AC?
Armor and AC. Yes.
Armor and AC. So
Armor and AC.
Join us on Friday where we will do the history of Armor and AC and everything that goes with that. That'll be at 7:30 Pacific Standard Time on this Friday if you guys want to join us. Otherwise, we will be back yet again on next Monday, 7 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for another review, which will be the other, the Mercurialist.
Mercuralist.
Mercuralist.
I think. I'll put it in the updates and hopefully we can actually read it.
But yeah, I hope you all enjoyed today's episode. It's been fantastic. Hecate, thank you so much for joining us and submitting that. It's always fantastic when you guys get us new items, and it was really cool to do that subclass. So
it really was.
So much.
I'm
glad you enjoyed it. I'm glad you and your daughter had a fantastic time. Hello. But no, it's been fantastic to have you guys hang out with us. I know that we saw Des in there a little bit earlier. I think that was pretty much it. I think it was just Hecate and Des today.
Cosmic was lurking for a little bit.
Cosmic was lurking. That's awesome. And then in Mupp, I don't know, is it Mupper Grumnus was in there lurking for some of it?
Yes.
So really appreciate you stopping by, giving us the lurk. It's always appreciated. Yeah, I hope you guys really enjoyed that. But that's going to be us for the rest of tonight. So yeah, I hope you guys had a fantastic weekend, and I hope you have a fantastic week ahead of you. We will be back on Friday. If you liked what you saw today and you missed anything from earlier in the stream, or if you just want to catch any of our other streams, you can catch us and on YouTube and all of our live streams on our VOD channel. I will link that in the chat right now as well. And if you want to submit your own ideas for us to talk about on Fridays, or if you want to submit your own homebrew review for us to review on Mondays, if you have anything from subclasses, items, magics, if you have anything that you've created and you want to submit it to us, you can do that through the Discord. I will post that in the chat as well. So yes, it's been fantastic. I really do appreciate everybody who hung out, who's been here, and we hope to see you again in the near future. So have a great rest of your night, guys. That's going to be us. Thank you so much. Cheers.
Deuces, my friends.